Welcome one and all to Wrist Shot Week, another bi-weekly episode and edition. Just going to make sure the laptop's catching up and we can get right in. There's so many of you in the chat already. I want to say hi. Let me just refresh this. I'm just making sure that the laptop's keeping up. It's the worst thing. There's this huge delay between starting and going in. Awesome. We're in. Sweet. Let me say hi to all of you. So from the top, Pete, Maz, Thomas, 121 click bezel, Mason, Gary Powers, Eric, Maynard, Demetrius, Ben, Raymond, Christopher. So good to have you all here. Thank you so much for joining. Yeah, it's going to be a monster of a show. Oh, that's all I can say. I've spent the last 2 hours preparing everything and getting everything in order. Can you hear me okay? Comment 1 in the chat if you can hear me fine, and then we can get the ball rolling. I can see Orange Hands joining us, Chili Badger, BDev, Showcase Watches, superb. Thank you all for being a part of the show and for sending in your watches. This is, I can honestly say, one of the most phenomenal selection of pieces that has been a part of this series before. We're on episode 9 at this point. Technically, we've done about 11 of these, but I think nine was a number that I pulled together after the first 2 were kind of test runs. You know what I mean? Okay, let me just stop this and show the sidebar. So on the left-hand side of the screen, you can see the watches that will be on show, and there's a long list. There's like 134 of them or something ridiculous. So I'm going to have to look after my voice, as well as, so tempted to say you can't hear me. That's great. Well, it's good that you can all hear me. Fantastic. I'm playing around with a new web browser on my laptop at the moment, so the format's a little bit different. I'm going to have to get used to reading it. But it looks pretty good. I think I can see everything fine. Right. So where to begin? All of you who are joining, it is unbelievable. Who else can I say hi to? We Watch Guy, Maynard in Japan, Juan, great to have you. Showcase Watches again, Flip and Zipper. Okay, so let's just get right into it. How is everyone doing? Hope you're all well, keeping yourselves occupied and busy, and have had a superb weekend so far. And let's get into these pieces now, because the show, as it is going to be a monster. And the show is proudly sponsored by Fisherman's Friend, because I don't know how long I'm going to be talking for, but it's always a joy. So where to begin? Start with what yours truly is currently wearing right now. So this is a Smith's Air Ministry. This video, or the review video of this watch, is coming out next week, Wednesday, roughly, I would say. And it's been such a good time. I've really enjoyed wearing this watch a lot, because it really is basic, bare minimum, but at the same time you get to appreciate all the little cues and details. It's using, I've got this olive canvas strap on it at the moment, which is superb. Really adds to the overall aesthetic of the piece. And cream dial, blue hands, you can't really see very well, but Eric Bell mentioning happy solstice. I should say that to everyone, happy solstice. We have a very specific watch coming up at the very end of the show that highlights the solstice in more detail. And it's from our friend Russell, who sends the most incredible watches into the show. So look forward to that. I've tried to read up about the watch before the show began. And even now, I don't even understand how it works, how to even read the thing. So it should be a lot of fun to talk about. And yeah, dear Artifacts joining. Les, there's a few more of you who've just dropped in. Okay, so this is what I'm wearing currently, but what I'm wearing today, and for the majority of the weekend, is the Old Faithful. And I've been busy over the last few days. All donations and everything that comes into the channel, I'm putting aside, because I am working on a project for all of us as a community, and it involves a bit of design work on the side. So all of today, I've been hammering my eyes, doing drawings and putting that together. So more to come very soon. But I think you'll enjoy it. It does sum up what this channel is about, which is great. It tests my designerly muscles. I get back into the work again. So it's going to be fun. I really hope you enjoy what comes out in the next few days. It's linked to Omega and a lot of watches that we know and love, so I'll keep it there. So these 2 photos I just took like willy-nilly. Excuse all the scum around the end links and everything else. But as the hero shot goes, it's such a cool little piece. I only enjoy wearing it on the weekends. I've tried to keep the gratification delayed. But all the little details, like the crystal, you have the Omega logo on the crystal, the serifs on all the numerals, and yeah, the details are immense. Also found that the faux radium effect, how differently it works in different lights. And you can see the dial is not exactly black. The camera probably doesn't pick it up too well, but there's almost a tobacco brown finish to it, which is great. It's such a cool watch to wear. I've enjoyed the heck out of it. Okay, so more of you here, we watch guys saying, love the Seamaster. Yeah, it's a gem. A San NATO, that would be really cool, Ryan. I mean, I should actually have a look. What's interesting is these watches come supplied with this coffee brown NATO strap, which is really clean and does definitely complement the dial. You can see, compared to the bezel, it's not black. It's got this otherworldly effect to it. And Maynard mentioning, again, if you'd like to get a hold of me, tag me in the chat at @IDguy or hashtag #IDguy, and it seems to work pretty well. Maynard says, the Smiths looks fantastic on the strap. Unfortunately, I have no wrist shots to show this week as I forgot to take some. Don't worry about it, Maynard. We have about 134. So it's not like we're short. And again, I can't thank you all enough for the watches that you've sent in, because the variety is off the charts today. Everything from Mosers to Pateks, Langes, Breguets, lots of Rolexes, Tudors, lots of Seikos, Grand Seikos. It's superb, and Omegas as well. It's so well-rounded. Again, that's why I said exceptional, because it does feel like if you're someone who's just joined this channel for the first time or watching this show, you get such a well-rounded perspective of what the community has behind the scenes. So yeah, it's great. So let's just get started, because I can talk about this watch for 20 minutes, and it's going to be a 3-hour show as it is, as most of us know. So let's get to the watch that's the actual cover photo watch. And it was very difficult coming up with one piece to choose. It was basically competition between a Planet Ocean, which looked phenomenal. There was a Tudor North Flag, which looked superb. But I decided for the cover photo, we needed a Grand Seiko. And this comes courtesy of Jason. We'll see him later on in the show. He's sent another piece in. But this is a SBGH27 high beat, what they call in the community the Whirlpool. And if we pull into the dial, which we will in a second, you will understand why. But it's just such a phenomenal wrist shot. And this is really what we try to look for when it comes to making a cover photo for the show. You want some decent sleeve or skin so that the title card can be put on the one side. The watch needs to take center stage and just presentable. You want that color to really stand out. And this piece, as we get into the dial and have a look at the details, the way they've turned this dial to make it so, just so clean, how the GS text expands as it goes greater and greater. It's beautiful. So this movement's automatic, and it's a high beat, beating at 36,000 beats per hour, beats per minute. Is that what they call it? 3,000. I've never understood the hertz, and I would imagine it's 3,600 beats per minute, which means that the sweep is, you can't actually tell that the watch is ticking. The sweep is so smooth. But this watch is just simply gorgeous. And I think it really epitomizes Grand Seiko as a brand really well, just because of how the case has been styled and the way the brushing and the polishing has been finished. The dial itself, the handsets, the batons, and the way the quarters are emphasized in places, the gold, the accent of gold on the second hand, but also on the GS logo. It's a work of art. Really is something special, and definitely does sum up what the brand is trying to do with their approach. Not only the dial details, but also just the overall cleanliness. Oh, it's gorgeous. Okay, more of you to say hi to in the chat. I've got to learn to, I've got to jump back and forth to the chat and everything else as soon as possible. So Freddie, welcome, Freddie, great to have you. Chris, Lee, Matthew from New Zealand, great to have you. Good morning from New Zealand. I would imagine it's like, what, 5 or 4 or 3 in the morning there? Some of you are just incredible. Weekday Hustle, great to have you. Zombie saying, I think you mentioned Zombie Boozer saying, should I watch this or Craig Ship? Craig's Grand Seiko that he just picked up, can't remember the reference, but it is phenomenal as well. Very similar design to this piece, if I'm not wrong. The only thing that's really different is the dial layout. Is it an automatic? I can't remember. Anyway, matching grey to the blue jeans. And that's another thing, the complementary nature of the blue on the jeans and the grey of the jersey that matches the strap in a way. Oof, it's phenomenal. And the resolution as well. I mean, you can pull right in and see all the little details. The ripple effect. Just see where everything centers and how it fans out. There is, are we talking 4 different regions where the parts cross over? I would say, or 3. I don't know. It's difficult to tell. Super complicated. What a great approach, though. So this is the cover photo for the show. And now we can start the actual show, sharing the other pieces that have come in. Before we do that, jersey has to come off, coffee has to go down, and then we can start rolling. So today being the 20th of June, meaning that we have the longest summer day in the Northern Hemisphere, it's pretty amazing. I think it's going to be light outside until like 11 p.m. in the UK. I don't know, 11:30, who knows? So for all of you, I hope you're sitting outside and enjoying this instead of sitting inside, because something quite special about enjoying the last of the sun in the Northern Hemisphere, at least. I don't know what it's like for the rest of you. So let's get into the next piece. So from Adam, starting with A's, normally the alphabetical order thing works. That's how Apple tends to arrange their stuff. Adam sends in a Yema Navigraph Heritage. Now, what a fascinating piece. Really, I've never seen this before. And it reminds me of, that late 60s, early 70s approach. Look at how the hands work. Bright yellow. We've got the faux tritium on the dial, made in France, which is a nice highlight, something different. And everything from the bezel insert to the tropic strap, everything seems to scream late 60s, in and around the time of the CQ models, the RS65. It's incredible. I mean, it really is a nice looking watch. The symmetry is something pretty superb. Also notice how the batons have been handled here. We have standard batons with almost pencil ends that correspond with the ends of the minute hands and the hour hand, which is a nice change. Looks like it's rated to 990 feet, patent pending. Yeah, this is great. Never seen this watch before, but it's a great one to start the show because, again, it's something that you just don't speak about and hear about. This is the kind of watch that should have been featured in the greatest reissue watches that are currently available. No? Okay. Patent pending smiley face, orange hand, yeah, for sure. Bloody fingers again. I don't know. Love the exclamation mark of the batons. That's from Thomas talking about these. Yeah, it's fascinating. I've never seen this combination before on a watch recently, at least. As I'm getting into the show and getting the preparation going, it takes a bit of time. King of Kludge, welcome to the show. Great to have you here. And Megan, it's great to have you. I did say in my message to you today that you should take today off and not be a part of the show. Catch some sleep for a change. All I can say is Megan has been working all hours behind the scenes. So is Thomas Burnett. I hope you got my email about the music track that you sent me. It's great. I really enjoyed listening to it. And yeah, just take my suggestion. Don't take it too hard. Just maybe use it if it works or not. Who knows? So let's get to the next piece. So Adam sends this watch in. It looks superb. I do really enjoy this time period. Lots of watches shared the same approaches around this time. You have bright highlights, you have the faux dial, you have this bezel that's fully numbered all the way around, brushed finish, nice and basic, simple, easy to wear, understated, unique. And that's what we try to go for on with most of these pieces that we enjoy in the sports category. Next from Alex is a 214270. Quality is not the best. It might have been my side saving it, but he has just picked this watch up, and it is the first generation 39mm Explorer, which we don't see very often. And I think the way he titled his email was something along the lines of, T-Rex hour hand. What did he say? T-Rex hour hand, white gold numerals. That's why I picked it up. He likes the quirkiness of this piece. And there's lots of rumor. Again, apologies for the resolution if you can't see it very well, but there's rumor that these pieces are going to go up in value. Of course, that's all hearsay, and the market basically dictates what's in demand and what's not. But because this watch was kind of a transitional, kind of an in-between, I think they call it the T-Rex, but the stud, I think you're right. Because this watch is a transitional, it does have a bit of gravity in the Rolex collecting arena. Peculiar watch, one that does spark a lot of debate. And 39 mils is also interesting size. I think many of us would like to see the watch down to like 37.5, just to see what it would look like. But then, speaking of which, I think there's a lot of details that this watch has that really makes it the modern watch of this point in time. The modern Rolex Explorer. And I think this is the same Alex. It might be a different one. I don't know.
but he sends in, we can actually judge by the wrist that comes in next. Thank you for this, Alex. This is from the next Alex. This is not the same Alex. He sends in one of the most interesting bicolor Daytonas that you can get. Very nice setting, by the way. This might be Florida, for all I know. So this Daytona is a reference 116503. So we have a yellow gold two-tone, black dial with just excellent yellow accents all the way through it, making it so legible to look at. I mean, it really is when you want a Daytona, when you want a chronograph, you want something that you can actually tell the time, but also, use as a practical instrument. You know what I mean? And there's a question asking from Oker's Goed. Great to have you. Why is it called T-Rex? So the problem was when this watch was introduced. Ooh, that's so pixelated. Apologies. Just squint your eyes. So this watch is 39 millimeters. This is the first reference of Explorer that they brought out in 39. And what happened was, because it was all technical and didn't really know what they were doing, they kind of threw a few elements together that some people didn't like. So these hands, for example, are from 36 millimeter models. So this hour hand, technically the hour hand and the minute hand are way too short. I think we have a few modern Gen 2s of these later on. But because these hands are short, it's considered a T-Rex because they kind of look a bit too small for the dial itself. That's basically it. Yeah, so back to this Daytona. I think it's one of the most gorgeous references, especially the modern line. Just as we transition away to ceramic bezels, this was one of, I think this generation is still out nowadays. Two-tone gold bezel, all the little accents, the two-tone gold, how the pushers work and the crown. It's so tidy and neat, but you can also read the time so quickly. And it's fascinating how just color and the use of line weights and those contrasting elements can make such a difference to your dial. You want to read the time, but also use it as a functional tool, as I said earlier. Okay, so got to keep up with all of you. Again, if you'd like to get my attention quicker, tag me in the chat. I'm going to try my best to get to the chats as soon as possible. But as you know, there's 134 watches on display, so it's going to take me my attention away from the chat as it's going. So Weekday Hustle says, love that Daytona. I'd pick that over ceramic. Me too. There's one, I think this exact model, 116503. I think this exact model with a white dial is the one for me. I've just always enjoyed it. It's just one of those pieces. I've always said that the Daytona represents a trophy, something as a real award that you would give yourself or be given. And the white dial for me in particular might not be as legible as this piece, but I just find the white dial with the two-tone is superb. I think it's the same reference. So have a look, 116503 on Google or wherever you are. Okay, thank you for this, Alex. Next, we have some gorgeous pieces that have been sent in by Amin. Amin actually has a channel called Amin Reviews, and I don't know what to start with. Let's have a look at the Ulysse Nardin first, because it's just a watch we never see. Okay, so let's jump to this watch for a second and talk about it. It is beautiful. God, there's some amazing, again, I have to emphasize, some amazing watches came in. Curtis, thank you so much for the super chat. Keep up the hard work. Don't worry, I will. I've been working all day today on a new project, and you guys are going to love it because it does sum up what I like to do on the channel. It adds a lot of design in, uses the ID logo on it, so it's going to be a lot of fun. Going to get there eventually. It's just a bit of graph behind the scenes. I've thrashed my eyes today looking at screens. That's all I can say. Okay, and Megan mentioning two-tone is coming back. You heard it here first. No, Megan, I truly believe it will, and it is. I mean, it's its own beast. It really is its own. It's in its own element at this point in time. Everyone wants ceramic, but geez, you can buy a two-tone for less than the price of a ceramic. Why not? You're getting precious metal. You're getting some more visual complexity at the same time. Okay, Maine is saying, whoa, UN is my kind of watch. Okay, so let's get to this. So Amin sends in, first piece he sends in, Ulysse Nardin, Perpetual Ludwig. Let me get the rest of the description. That's it. Perpetual Ludwig, celebrating the 150th anniversary of the family, produced in 1996. It's Ulysse Nardin's first perpetual calendar they ever made. So we have day, date, month, year. Okay, let me try and work this out. So we have day, Tuesday, date, June, month, the 9th, and the year, 2020. I'm guessing that's how it's arranged. But just all the elements. I really enjoy the offsetting of this large date in the corner. Really unique And just the package overall, you see the stepping on the lugs themselves, rounded off edges. It definitely screams that old-timey period, you know, pocket watch inspired. Ulysse Nardin really takes the inspiration from their marine chronometers from back in the day. Clive, yes, I did get your pics. Don't worry, they will be coming up. One thing I've noticed as well is what's quite peculiar is the leather itself isn't the right length for the strap, for the end link, for the spring bar. I've only been running for 19 minutes. I got to warm up still. The caffeine still hasn't hit the brain. Just gorgeous texture to the dial. You can see the inspiration of the wave motif. Also really enjoy the way they incorporate the anchor into the logo. Blued hands, classical, nice and clean. And of course, you have to include a movement shot. And Amin has sent some gorgeous movement shots that we'll see in a second. So first perpetual calendar from the family. Is this an actual sapphire on the, I'd imagine this could be a sapphire on the back. Maybe it's just a jewel. That was just gorgeous. One thing I really enjoy so much about this show is that the submissions are just phenomenal. The photography, the camera work that goes on behind the scenes as well. You've all done yourselves so proud. And yeah, that's all I can say. The next few watches that you'll be seeing over the next few hours, I think you'll really appreciate because it's just so diverse and unique. Okay, we watch guys saying, Clive, watches on a blanket. No, luckily the Indian blanket doesn't feature. He sends me in a commissioned piece that he had made for himself. So should be fun to share with all of you. Flip and zipper, yeah, you hit it on the head there. So that's the idea. But what's going into the apparel, we might say, is a little bit different to what is currently available. So that might, you know, drive the attention in a different area. So yeah, I'll keep it under the tabs for the moment, but it should be good. Okay, next from Amin, he also sends in a watch called let's try and get this right, Gorilla Fastback GT Drift Ulysse, in brackets, I said, Amin Reviews, highlighting his YouTube channel. He has a YouTube channel and he talks about all of these watches. So if you want to follow him, I'll actually put it into the chat right now for all of you. Amin Reviews, I think probably 2 words. There we go. If you're on YouTube and you'd like to have a look at the pieces, he does talk about the Ludwig and everything else, but he also, the last watches you'll see from him is the real showstopper. It's one of the best watches of the show by far. And it's the complementary colors, it's absolutely sublime. Okay, so Gorilla Fastback GT, I don't know if this is a micro brand. I don't know anything about this company at all. But we've got looks like we've got some carbon fiber on the outside here. We've got a nice olive drab finish to it. And the way the watch works, I actually spent some time trying to understand. It kind of works like an Uhrwerk, I think, where you follow the minute track at the top. You see it says 0, 5, 10, 15. So that's how you track the minutes, and the hours, you track where they're pointing. So currently, it's just hit 3 o'clock in the afternoon, or no, 3 o'clock in the morning, I'd imagine. I don't know. Well, 3 in the afternoon. Okay, get the coffee in the brain. 3 in the afternoon, so it's dead on at that time. It's a very interesting way of reading the dial. All these sub-dials rotate on their own axis, and the central arm obviously moves as well. So you have running seconds, and you count the hours and minutes by looking at the top of the dial. Very unique and different. The square case, I do like how the case has been constructed, very prototype-ish, very conceptual. Also just enjoy the idea that it incorporates carbon fiber and some experimental movements. Okay, going to catch up with more of you in the chats because, you know, as it is, I struggle so much. Let's see, Lee is joining, great to have you. Torgira, nice to have, oh, and he's asking what's the GS in the thumbnail. If you go back about 10 minutes or so, you'll see it, but it's the reference to the watch is SBGH267, high beat, and they call it Whirlpool. That's the collector's talk for what they've called the name. It is absolutely superb. We're just going to see a lot of Grand Seikos on the show, Seikos themselves, but also Grand Seikos. And Megan's saying Gorilla is an amazing brand created by ex-designer of AP. Megan is a wealth of knowledge. Thank you for that, Megan. Had no idea. So there we go. Got a better understanding. And also just the detail. This typeface used for this logo is spot on, because it communicates that added aggression. Another thing is when you think of silverback gorillas, if you know how they stand, they've got this very angular stance, especially how their backs work. And this way, the typeface has been angled in such a way. It's very neat. It's aggressive. It definitely corresponds well with the styling of the case and the detail. Also, just enjoy the highlights, like how the yellow corresponds with the yellow on the underside of the case and at the top. Nice congruency there. Don't know so much about the crown guards. That seems to break it up a little bit for me. It'd be nice to see an olive finish to the crown guards themselves. Nice and different, though. It's great to see a unique experimental prototype-esque piece. Okay, moving on. The next watch from Amin, and this is by far one of the best watches of the show, I believe. Moser Endeavor. I called it Hero. Moser Endeavor Hero. It is beautiful. And what makes this watch work so well, like I need to even tell you, it's not only how it matches his skin tone, it's the leather strap, it's the silver dial, it's the rose gold on the case. Oof, it is gorgeous. But look at it. Just look at the detail. And again, the photo just sings. Of course it does. You know, high-res photos always make the difference. But just this is really the epitome of a dress watch. And I think Moser hit it out of the park with the Endeavor. If I'm not wrong, Moser as a brand, this is what really put them on the map. I don't know if the Pioneer came first or if the Endeavor came first, but holy smokes, this is gorgeous. And he sent a lot more in, so we get to just enjoy the starburst of the dial. I don't know if we would call this fume dial on this piece itself, but it's terrific, absolutely beautiful. Of course, we get to see a movement shot in a second. Tao, great to have you here. Superb. Amin reviews, you're in. Just tuned in the time. Yeah, I mean, thank you for sending these in, Amin. I'm so besotted. It is this Moser in particular, I find is just beautiful. The combination of colors, you just can't beat this. I think it looks so. What makes it amazing is that it looks so understated. Actually, it looks casual enough to be worn every day, which is just superb for a watch like this. The way it sits, the form, the organic nature of how the case works next to how the hands sit. Oh, it's so clean and gorgeous. Okay, going to move to the movement next. Of course, he sends in some gorgeous resolution shots of the balance. So we get to enjoy all of those details in the purest form. And Orange Hand saying pure class. Yeah, it is gorgeous. Absolutely stunning. Cedar Canoe saying timeless watch. Sure is. And I think this is the only Moser that we're featuring on the show. Like, I need to say that. How often do we get Mosers? We do often, actually. It's incredible. The last, how long this show has been going on for? 6 months. We've seen practically everything. And what's hilarious is what's coming up next. Directly in line with the Moser, we're going to see some amazing pieces again. We're getting a lot of the sweets right now. You know, we're getting the candy at the very beginning of the show, but don't worry. As it develops, there's more and more on top of it. Here's a side profile. You can see that Amin wears the watch. We've got some micro scratches on the bezel. Also, just enjoy that the bezel is domed and not flat for a change. Dome bezel allows for the light. As you can see, the image itself is reflected in the center, which visually makes the watch look smaller. It's great. I mean, the way it plays with light. Look at the scalloping on the lugs as well. Brush on the side, and then we have this gorgeous polish scallop to it as well. Just simple things like the strap actually curving around the lug. It's just practical. You know, it's a modern touch to a very classical design. Great take on this piece for sure. And I think that's it. Yeah, this is all that Emin sent in. But yeah, the Endeavor for me is definitely one of the heroes of this show by far. Absolutely gorgeous. The colors, the way it sits, the setting. As far as dress watches go, it has such a good X factor. If I had all the money in the world, one of these watches would be in my collection. That's all I'm going to say. Amin, thank you for sending these in. And then we're going to jump straight to Ant G, if he's in the chat. I don't know. But he sends in both his Lange Saxonia Thin and Patek 5227. We get to appreciate them together for a change, which is nice. And this is not the only Lange that's going to be on the show. Not the only Patek that's going to be on the show either. That's a small hint for what's coming up closer to the end of the series. But beautiful pairing. This Patek especially is brand new to Ant's collection. 5227G, as in white gold. And it has a very nice trick that this 27, mainly the 27 models incorporated, which we will see in a second. But notice how the dials differ here. We have a cream dial on the one side, and we have this polished champagne dial that the Lange incorporates. Okay, this would be good. Let's run a poll. Hold on a sec. Neo joining. Hello, humanity. Great to have you, Neo. Thank you for joining and for the super chat. Oh, geez, you guys are amazing. Okay, so what we're going to do is P for Patek, L for Lange. Which would you pick up if it was you? I think I know what's going to win, but it's always good to have a bit of community engagement and feedback. P for Patek, L for Lange. I'll also add in my choice, but I don't think you really need to ask. Okus Goed saying the P. So far we have Lange is way ahead. It's funny how the appeal. It's almost like the appeal to Lange has suddenly grown so much. Lange has pretty much won by a landslide. But in saying that, there's some things that the Lange lacks that I think the Patek gains in the way it's been approached. Because, okay, what I do enjoy so much about these two watches is they really represent their own distinctive stylings, for sure. But also they represent their countries they come from. We have Glashütte on the left, on the right, geez, and Genève on the left. But what Germanic styling and the whole Bauhaus approach is all about is reducing to the simplest forms. And here we see just a dial that has batons, simple stick batons. The hands win it for me. They're gorgeous. We jump over to Genève and we see that no expense was spared. Every single hobnail is added for the minute marks. And I think that makes it so practical as an everyday wearing watch. The date complication as well, you could say the same thing. But overall, both of them just make such a nice pairing. I also really enjoy running seconds hand, but that's just me. The two watches really represent their respective brands well. And then we turn over, and of course we get some case backs and some movement shots, and we get to enjoy what makes the 5227 such a gem, is it has a officer's case back. Bauhaus in the middle of the street. Yeah. So let me just catch up with all of you guys here. There's lots of, geez, again, the comments come so fast and I struggle so much to keep up. Hidden hinge. Yeah, as Christopher says, having an officer's case back is such a unique trait. Speaking of which, very soon we're going to see a officer's case back put into good use on a pocket watch. And there's all sorts of things you can do with it. You can put engravings on there. I mean, there's talk about hiding illicit drugs in the back if you want, I guess. This model has what looks like a Patek Philippe seal. So it must have been made, I would imagine, like mid-2000s, like 2007-ish, 2010, I don't know. I don't think the 5227 is in production anymore. But again, so similar how these two watches share their own traits from their respective companies and brands themselves. We have, the typical Glashütte striping, and then we have Patek's approach with how the bridges are done. You notice that Lange is one thing I don't really like about Lange movements is that they like to hide everything behind bridges. Not a bad thing. I mean, it really adds to the reinforcement and the fact that you can wear this watch more and abuse it a bit more. But there's something special about seeing everything working. I mean, this is not exactly the best photo to show off, but I mean, generally you get to see a lot more with Swiss movements compared to German movements. But then you have the engraved balance. You have just the balance spring itself. It's gorgeous. Really stunning pairing, and it makes for such great entertainment. We can really appreciate the two side by side. So, Ant, if you're in the chat, if you're here somewhere, thank you for sending these in. It's always a treat seeing two watches side by side, so we can really talk over them both. Currently, we've been running for 33 minutes, doing pretty well. Okay, now, funnily enough, next watch came in from Azam, and he sends in a watch that's going to be spoken about next week, Wednesday. And you notice why I'm wearing my little Smiths. It's because it lines up very much with what this Longines is all about. Designed and made for the Air Ministry back in the day for RAF pilots. But the distinction between these two is this watch is 37-ish, 36.5, 37 mils, whereas the Longines Heritage Military is about 39 mils, if I'm not mistaken. This model, okay, we're going to get super nerdy here right now. This model is taken, it's a more direct homage or copy of the 1940s issued pieces to RAF pilots. So this is very distinct. The way you can tell, these watches originally came in 33 mils. The way you can tell is just the way the minute track is set around the dial. It's a bit shorter. The handset is also quite a telltale sign. Notice the speckling on the dial, pretty unique, kind of like an eggshell finish as well. And the color of the dial is also very distinct. They've done a pretty good job with replicating this. The crown is also nice and unique. So originally these were 33 mils. This has now been pushed out and oversized to 39. And the Smiths next to it is a tribute to a very specific Omega that was made, is actually recased. So it's basically a recased variant of the Longines in about 1956. And I found the exact model that this pays tribute to. Also blued hands and all of those specifics. But it's just so much fun studying about the history of these watches because you just learn the stupidest little things. Like I'm becoming a dictionary when it comes to talking about military spec watches for RAF back in the day. And it's great. I mean, your brain is a sponge. You might as well use it. But there's little details. Like I've noticed this 12 has like a small serif to it. And I know I've been ignoring the chat, so let me jump back in and say hi to all of you. The angle of this shot really captures the lighting on the dial as well. Truthfear is saying, love the Longines of the Omega. Oak is good, asking, have you already found a Ploprof mesh strap for your Seamaster? No, I haven't. Speaking of which, there's a few of them on the show. We've got a couple of meshes that we'll be seeing in a second. I'm very keen to find a Ploprof mesh for my watch. So hopefully that comes into fruition eventually. So Clive's saying, no, it's better than military watch homage, the actual watches. Yeah, for sure. What I enjoy so much about these modern pieces is that you really get to wear them and abuse them and not have to worry about the smallest details like, the movement going out of whack or whatever else. Not saying that the originals are in bad shape because it's actually incredible how well they've held up. And what made these watches so unique, they had Faraday cages inside them, which was quite a new development because you're flying in a plane that's just full of magnetic fields. So keeping the watch amagnetic was important. And just small things like the blued hands and really unique. I really enjoyed this particular field of watches. Really struck a good point. Okay, so I'm going to catch up with the rest of you now in the chat. I hope if I can, probably not. Love the name, love the freckles, weekday hustle. Why do they call it a hunter case back? I think, are we talking about the Patek? I think it was because back in the day, I'm just assuming that hunters would be taking these watches out into the field and it allowed them to, I don't know, check on the movement as they were out in the mud. And when I say hunter, I mean someone who's probably out game shooting. I don't know. That's a full-on guess. Okay, we're going to jump straight to voices going already, and we're 35 minutes in. Next, we're jumping to BDev, and BDev is in the chat, I think. Thank you for sending that in, Nazam, by the way. Absolutely gorgeous. The next piece is called a Bertucci Quartz Field Watch. Never heard of this piece before, but it has quite a unique feature to it. So let me hit the coffee. Fahim is joining us. Great to have you, brother. You were the last person I saved. And I saw that you actually phoned me earlier. My phone was in the kitchen charging, so I didn't get to it. Sorry about that. Literally been putting this together over the last hour. Okay, hitting the coffee and getting back in. I've never heard of this piece before. Swiss made, 50 meters water resistant. And this is its real character piece, is that it has this removable casing around the watch itself, which is unique, right? So the watch is USA based, but it uses a Swiss movement by the sounds of things. It does say Swiss luminous on the dial. Being American based is also nice. It's good to see for a change. Thomas saying, love this watch. And the coloring is really something quite unique. It's almost like what would you say? Baby turd brown. Would you say, some saying non-bread? I don't know. But talking about a field watch, it really incorporates the American aesthetic, the American approach of a field watch, which is 24-hour time set inside the dial, which is something that I've learned over time. That's really what defines the American field watch next to the British, say, is you have a 24-hour track inside, which makes it quite easier to discern those details. Nice color combination, though. The black on brown, the way the loom is placed. Counterbalance is also very nice. It almost looks like a pull tab that you have on a plane. Okay, so we're going to move on from here. I think BDev sent a few more. Okay, the next watch, talking about hunter casebacks and all of those details, BDev sends in, and Clive's talking about getting the originals. This is a 1919 Elgin pocket watch, which belonged to BDev's grandfather. and it is phenomenal. What a beautiful layout. And, 1919, we've just left the First World War, and these watches were very much, they had welded on lugs, and they became wristwatches for a lot of people. Wristwatch Experience is joining us. Great to have you here. Baby Brown, that's great. Okay, so Megan's saying great range of field watches. I know the investment company well. They have their patent on the NATO strap. Interesting. She's, Megan is a wealth of knowledge in this area for sure. So this is by far the oldest watch that is featured on the show, but it's just gorgeous. It keeps all the original traits. And what I love so much about having like a glossary of such diverse watches on the show at once, you notice how the hands are arranged, these spade-styled hands. Now, this watch is from 1919, bear in mind. This watch is inspired by watches from 1940 onwards and still uses a spade-styled hand. So it's incredible seeing that timeline, that transition, and how so many elements remain the same. Also, just enjoy, you wouldn't call these Breguet numerals, but these stylized, look at the twos, how the underside looks like a foxtail. I don't know what you would call it. Really nice detail. But then he gives me the other details. Let's have a look. The case back itself is well engraved, which is something quite special. And look how well it's held up. I mean, this 1919, what are we talking here? We're talking 100 years. This watch is almost 100 years old. That is, it's 101, no? My maths is probably all over the shop, but beautiful. And the chain, everything's in great condition. Love the engraving. I mean, to think that this is all gold, I would imagine this has to be 18 karat. None of the engravings have worn off over time. 100-year-old piece, and it still looks immaculate. And of course, here is the party piece. You open it up, and you've got a hunter case back of some kind. Open it up, and you get to have a look at the movement, and it's stunning. 15 jewels. You've got your regulator. I love this. When you can actually regulate the movement with the slow and the fast adjustment. Huge, big cogs and gears. The polishing on the mainspring housing. Oof, it's gorgeous. Really is stunning. If BDev is in the chat, I saw him a second ago. It'd be nice to know what this movement is made from. If it's maybe sterling silver, is it I don't know, probably a silver movement itself. Zombie Boozer saying, is it weird to wear a wristwatch and a pocket watch? Kind of like double fisting. No, I don't think so. I mean, the cool thing about pocket watches was the chain, how the chain goes from one area to the next. It really stands out when you're wearing clothes. Okay, hitting the coffee again. I got to get this caffeine in me. I'm not going to last. So we get to see this in its full glory, which is gorgeous. And then another thing, the bonus of using a hunter case back is that you can actually frame a photograph. Now, this is BDev's grandmother that's been kept in the watch all its life. So pretty incredible. I mean, talk about a time capsule, talk about storytelling. I think it's something so special to have watches that tell you these kinds of stories. And this one is really the embodiment of a story. His grandfather's watch that he probably had for his entire life. Probably got it when he was in his, 30s maybe. And this piece has been around ever since and is still in such incredible condition. It's so good. That's why I love doing these shows. The submissions are just incredible. And we're going to see a lot more of these, don't worry. Okay. I'm going to hit, and they're talking about stakes and everything else. I need to get into that conversation. I think this is also from BDev. BDev also sends in a Seiko 5. Was this BDev? I don't know. If you're still in the chat, I want to say hi. But yeah, the orange highlights is great. You can see we jump from a 100-year-old Elgin to a Seiko 5 just on the flip. Okay, talking about stakes, talking about rump steaks. What are we talking about here? I don't know what's been going on. Everyone's probably talking about what they're eating. Bud does start saying curry is not your thing. I'm with you, Bud. It's definitely not my thing either. I suffer with curry. I can't take it. Okay, love pocket watches, Juan says. I mean, I knew Juan would appreciate this because he loves sending in his vintage pieces to all of us. Okay, and a Guinness weekday hustle. Ooh, I could use a Guinness right now. So really enjoy. What I like about this watch the most is just the way that the accents work so well. Orange against black. We have this, the typical, these remind me of the samurai hour hands, if I'm not wrong. This looks like a samurai inspired dial, excuse me. Look at it. Clean, simple, basic, a real dive watch, 100 meters water resistant, 24 jewels. That's pretty impressive, I didn't expect a watch like this to have so many jewels to the movement. Isn't that a bit overkill? I don't know. You can tell me in the chat. I'm definitely not a Seiko. I'm a novice in the Seiko realm for sure. And there's a lot of them. Grand Seikos in particular. We're going to see some gorgeous stuff. And again, I struggle so hard now that I'm using a different screen, a different web browser on my laptop. The typeface is a bit different on the screen, so I might struggle with catching up with all of you in the chat. So again, tag me in the chat, and it comes up with this highlighted element that I can see it a lot easier. So either @idguy, hashtag, if you want to get my attention or ask me a question or whatever else. Bud saying Guinness with a shot of Kulula. You guys. So BDev, thank you for sending these all in. I feel like this is from you. I hope you also sent in the Seiko. Next, we go to Ben, and we've just looked at, you know, everything from Elgin's to Mosers. And now we jump to a Breguet. Now, he didn't give me the reference number to this watch, but I did find it under Ladies Breguet, which I find quite a travesty. This watch looks sublime, especially on the bracelet. It's gorgeous. I have never seen this configuration of bracelet before. It's like keyring, you know, keyring mesh, and everything about it. I mean, just the aesthetics. You know, the Breguet is the one brand that really does pay tribute to their past with the way they approach their finishes. We are getting serious, but another thing, this watch isn't quartz. I feel like this watch it can't be quartz. Is it? It's another thing. I didn't get the details about it, but maybe someone can help me out. If you want to do a quick Google search, I think I looked up something like Breguet bracelet, mesh bracelet, and this came up for sale somewhere. But everything about it, the pocket watch aesthetic. This isn't the only Breguet on the show, by the way. Hint, hint. The pocket watch aesthetic, the cleanliness, symmetry, and then we translate to how the bracelet has been integrated, and it feels just so correct for a watch like this. It's taking the charm of what made the chain so popular. What made the chain so popular back in the day, you know? I mean, just look at the weave and how it's done, and incorporating the chain into the aesthetic a little bit differently, but it's so effective because of it, you know? Is that an heirloom watch? Zombie says, I would imagine it is for sure. I don't know the story about it again, but I think with regards to a watch representing its respective brand, we've already seen a great Patek example, Lange, a great Moser example. We've only been running the show for 47 minutes. You see what I mean when I say that this is exceptional? The pieces are absolutely sublime and so different. I love this bracelet on this watch. I think it complements what this brand is striving for so well. Why doesn't Breguet do this now with their pieces? Clive saying the chain is so popular. Fleetwood Mac did a song about it. Where do you come up with this stuff, Clive? It's a great song. I do enjoy the chain. Background ARP. It's another thing, Eric Bell. I have no idea. He didn't give me any details about what's going on. Is this a sound mixing studio? Is this a radio station? No idea. Looks pretty old school, but maybe that's just my, you know, I'm thinking of my amplifiers from back in the day with these beautiful knobs and details. It's gorgeous though. And this Breguet just catches my attention every time. Also love that. I would imagine this watch is probably, you know, between 33 and 35 millimeters inside. But I think just as a watch that represents its brand, it does such a terrific job. So clean and beautiful. Okay, we're going to the next submission. We're still on B at the moment, and we haven't even, what are we going to do? Blaine sends in the Citizen Eco Drive. And I remember seeing this watch being debuted, and it's actually phenomenal because, and you see we jump from something like a Breguet to a Citizen. That's just how the show works. This watch has the thinnest solar-powered movement. It's like 1 millimeter in thickness. And let's see if I can, is this a good enough shot? I don't know. They've done a really good job with regards to the symmetry, the way the bracelet is done, the two-tone finish and effect. Again, this watch, I think this watch itself measures like 3 millimeters or something daft. It is one of the thinnest watches in the world for what it represents with its the caliber that it uses. I don't know the full specifics. He did list them to me, but I didn't write them down because, as it is, I barely look at the watches when they're sent in. I rename and save, and that's it. But it's got a solar-powered movement, so it's a solar-powered quartz, and it's just ridiculously thin. The movement is 1 millimeter thick. I think the overall watch itself is about 3 millimeters, and it's a very interesting watch for that reason. If it comes to picking up a watch for its uniqueness, I mean, Citizen isn't a brand that everyone jumps to, but for this watch in particular, it did break a few records back in the day, and still is one of the big record holders for what it is. Okay, so Blaine sends this in. We've had a look at these two. I really enjoyed. I've got to motor through some of these, or else we've just arrived at C, and we haven't even, we're already an hour into the show. And Cedar Canoe says Citizen is the most underrated watch brand. It is. I mean, they do have a superb history, and I should actually have a look at their watches and have some discussions revolving around them soon. Really enjoy the approach. The one thing, I mean, the crown kind of looks Royal Oak inspired. You could say the same about the way the bezel is done. Really clean, simple, and the real milestone was breaking through the 1 millimeter barrier, which is incredible. They call it the solar system. Thank you, Ryan. That's what they do call the movement, and the caliber itself, solar system, something like that, right? And Underachieving says, I like quartz watches without the second hand, for sure. If you're going to get quartz, get one without a second hand, because it just cleans up the dial so much. You don't have to see that tick, which causes a twitch in most of us. You know what I mean? Yeah. Even if I owned a 9F Seiko, I would get rid of the second hand. 9F movement is their top quartz movement that they use. Okay, next up, Cedar Canoe in the chat. He sends in 2 more Yemas. Wouldn't you believe that we started the show with a Yema, what was it? Another Yema diver. We have 2 more. On the left-hand side, we have a 38mm Yema Superman reissue. And on the right, we have a 1969 38.5mm Yema Datograph using a Valjoux 7733, just for us watch nerds out there who's interested in movements and all of those details. And here we see new versus old. We see newly inspired, or should I say, they're both old inspired. This one is the new take on the vintage piece, and this is the original from back in the day. And all these little things. I mean, the Yachtograph, the whole idea, what I love about yacht timers themselves is how they arrange their subdials. You see this very often with regatta timing watches. The whole idea of incorporating blue and red, dividing up the 5-minute intervals. Because generally when you're lining up for a regatta, it takes 5 minutes before you have to leave the dock. I have a friend who actually does it. And she's tried to explain it to me before, but I can't remember the details. But it's something like that. It takes 5 minutes for you to basically time your stops before you take off and begin the race. So it's really practical. The color scheme is just so easy to read. It's nice and legible and clean and clear. And just seeing these two side by side, you notice the bezel on the 2 watches are very similar in a way, similar inspiration. The Superman, I do like this way that the bezel, I don't know what this is. It's almost like a cyclops for the bezel that sits there. That divides up the elements. I don't know what's that. What is that? Just a quirky feature that makes it different and unique? I really don't know. Is this something that you line up with? I really don't know. I'm looking at it now. I can't really make it out. Gorgeous though. The combination of parts, you can just see the divide between the two. Both of them were inspired by a similar time period, so we see these elements and how they've translated between each other. He sent me another shot of the two. Let me get into the chat. You see how like taken away I get when I talk about watches, and I struggle with catching up with all of you. Yacht time is very cool. Interesting complication. It's a locking bezel. Thank you, Orange Hand. So that detail on the left is a locking bezel. Great to know. Thank you. Yeah, Cedar, thank you for sending these in. You normally always send in Seikos, so it's nice to see a bit of difference. I think you've also sent some great vintage divers before in the past. So let's carry on through with the next from, this is also from Cedar Canoe. Whew. He sends in, and now we jump to Sinn. This is a very impressive piece, Sinn U212, and this is 1,000 meters water resistant, filled with argon gas. It's amazing. Sinn is on another level, I tell you. When you start getting into studying them as a brand and what they do, it's incredible. So the U line, the Sinn U line and the Sinn Easy M line, unbelievable. Such a great approach, really hardcore. Speaking of which, talking about 1,000 meters, on Thursday I did a video all about deep divers and looked at Rolex versus Omega, the deep sea challenge versus the ultra deep. And it was a lot of fun just looking at the most stupidly overbuilt watches. Both of them traveled like 10,000 meters deep. But these pieces, Sinn as a brand is so underrated, and I can't wait to talk about them more, especially the Easy M's and the U line, like the UX and the U1, U50. And just a small detail, which I really love. You see this little pill on the inside. What it basically does is detects the amount of, let me try and get this right, is it moisture or is it oxygen contamination? I don't know. It's got to, because this watch is argon filled, it doesn't get irritated by general gases. It's a lot more pressurized because of the argon gas inside. And this little blue pill will eventually get darker and darker over time. I think it starts almost white and it gets darker over time as there's more presence of, is it moisture or is it oxygen? Please correct me. But yeah, I guess the one divisive element with this watch is the faux style lume and everything. But what it does is break up the dial very well. You can easily discern the hours and minutes and everything in between against the black dial. So pretty unique. And Megan's saying you like the PVD coating. Yeah, it is a nice finish. Definitely cleans it up, as well as on a rubber strap. Yeah, stunning. We've been sitting and looking at these watches for like 5 minutes. Tell you what, it's going to take so long to run the show. Next from Chris. Chris originally was in Utrecht, but he's now moved over to Canada. And this was one of the last watches I actually saved for the show. Our usual Polar Explorer. This being a reference, let me try and remember, 16570. I always get those confused. The numbers get confusing sometimes. But let's have a look. It's a hollow end link. So I'd imagine it's a Holes case, hollow end link. We have a tritium dial. So I'd imagine it's one of the last of the tritiums. Correct me if I'm wrong. Clive, PVD definitely. I remember you mentioned that in a show years ago. I think that's one of the best lines that you've made over time. It's funny. It's really funny. So yeah, Polar Explorer, I think it's quite the hidden gem, as we know. Archie Luxury has really driven the attention towards this watch, and I mean, for good reason. Of course, it was very cheap and affordable back in the day, but now so many are jumping on this watch because it is attainable, unique. Chris saying, yep, 1997, it switched 98. Geez, Chris, I don't know how I guessed that, but hey. So this being the very last of the tritium dials, you notice just how it hasn't actually faded very much. Maybe it's just the lighting. But you can tell by looking at the dial, it says T less than 25. Also, have a notice, I don't know if this is typical on all models of this time, but you see the serifs on the numerals. That's something quite unique. And overall, Polar Explorer is just versatile. It doesn't look like a Rolex to the common bystander. That's the thing. Most GMTs and most Submariners, they generally, you can tell that they are Rolexes, but this piece has its own way of approaching the design. If it was me jumping in to fix this piece in a few places, I would love to get my hands on a orange hand to fit inside this. If it had a proper, freccione, hope I said that right, proper orange hand like the 1655, this watch would just sing to me. I love the white dial. I made a video about a very unique, it was a video that wasn't popular, but a watch belonging to Oliver Shepherd. Go into Google right now and type in Oliver Shepherd Explorer. I made a video about it. It was like 5 minutes long, but I spoke about how this design came into being. The Oliver Shepherd watch was really a transition. It was really a transition from the 1655 to the 5-digit references. And you notice just what changed. Oliver Shepherd actually requested a very specific dial, a GMT dial putting inside it. So yeah, look it up, Oliver Shepherd Rolex. And my video should be up like on the first suggestion on the list. And have a look at it because, yeah, it's an old video. Did it like 8 months ago. But talk about just how the design changed between the 1655 and this newer edition. Okay, moving on to the next. I don't know, this is not the same Chris, I don't think. Is it? Probably not. We get an Aragon Palmer II. Now, Aragon is a brand that Megan can tell us about, and Thomas can as well. He's been dealing with this watch for a while. It's a micro brand. You need to give me more details about this piece for sure. Peculiar combination of elements. The lume is like like a lime green. The dial has an insane amount of texture to it. So what is it? A 200-meter diver. It has a cushion-style case, integrated bracelet-esque elements. Screws on screws on the bezel, which helps secure it to the case, which is something unique. Small details like the offset. What does this look like? A 24-hour time on the right-hand side. Someone needs to definitely clarify this brand in a bit more detail to me. That would be great to see and read. let me catch up with all of you in the chat. There's lots of debate about Explorers. Claudius says, Explorer 2 is a duck that swims like a dog. I've never heard that expression in my life. What does that mean? That sounds like a direct to English Italian translation. Please can you explain what that means, Claudio? I mean, dogs swim pretty well. A duck that swims like a dog. It's great. I have a buddy who's Portuguese, and they have, all what I love is all languages, all cultures have their own expressions. They don't translate as well in English, but I really enjoy it. You can learn so much about expressions from different cultures. So, okay, so Wing Liang designed and owned, Eric Bell said. I don't know who Wing Liang is. Excuse my ignorance. This is a photo of the Flip and Zipper. Oh, is that so? Okay, Chris, Flip and Zipper sent this in. So this is one of the prototypes. That means. Oh, it's fantastic. I mean, it's a different piece. I think what also was mentioned is that it's a left-hand drive, since the crown's the other way around, which is something unique. Eric Bell's saying he is an Aragon owner. Eric, your watch coming up in a second is going to be great. Very different and unique. We featured this a few times on the show. The counterbalance is something I've never seen. Reminds me of like an atom arrangement. I like to look at these pieces in more detail in the future. I do enjoy the way the bezel has been cut out here. Why the bezel needs knurling and also these cutouts, I don't know. But overall, interesting color combination. I mean, silver on steel. We've seen it with a few pieces. I think we actually are going to see a Yacht-Master in a second. Okus Hoot asking, have you ever had Porsche design watches on these streams? Yes, we have. We've had the Ocean 2000, actually last week's show. It should be somewhere in the description, I don't know, or on my channel. Last week's Wrist Shot Week, we did feature a Ocean 2000, and it's beautiful. Okay, I'm going to carry on through. Thank you for sending this in, Flip and Zipper, if you're still in the chats with us. Okay, next from Watch Guy, Wisconsin Watch Guy, known as Chris. He sends in, oh geez, come on, work with me, magic trackpad. This is the Hodinkee Heuer Skipper Heuer, whatever you want to say. This was quite a, so the story he had behind this was, there's only like 100 of these made or something. And he had really bad signal in his office when it came to the day when these watches were actually released. And he was just able to nab the watch. These are very sought after at this moment, right? They're very collectible because they're just so unique. Of course, it pays tribute to an original Heuer. We noticed that vintage homage watches seem to be quite a popular trend on the show today. But he also sent me a shot of the watch in the light, but I couldn't get a really good angle on the dial itself. But it has a explosive blue dial. Again, talking about Skipper, it's another regatta timer in a way. Every 10 minutes is highlighted by a different color, making it very practical to count your stops. Kind of wish it was a 60-minute subdial, but then you can also break up the subdial quite well for a 60 minutes because of the colors there. Nice highlights. We've got orange there. Just clean and clear. I've actually thought about doing a Heuer Carrera write-up and really focus in on just what made them so unique. Just the styling in general is very crisp and clear. What I find fascinating about this watch now, second looking, it looks to be more of just a typical dress watch than anything else. The chronograph function is actually like an added benefit. It's almost like an add-on. You could wear this watch as something for more formal occasions, but then you have the benefit of a 30-minute chronograph timer. A lot of fun. You have a date complication as well. Yeah, so Heuer as a brand needs to be covered in more detail soon. I hope to do that. And when I think of explosive dial, the first thing that comes to mind, yeah, I'm not going to read that anymore. Speaking of, Hunt hit me up on Instagram in private. There's some news in the AD world. But just that, you guys are chatting amongst yourselves. Sorry, I'm just jumping in to the chats. I have to keep up with you. It's the best Hodinkee edition, period. Orange Hand, I agree. It is one. My favorite is most definitely the Corne de Vacheron that they did. I think they made it in platinum. I can't remember, but oh my soul, that's a gorgeous watch. This, for what it is, being Heuer, a representative watch of the company and everything else, they did a terrific job. And it feels like Hodinkee is getting quite lazy with their re-editions nowadays, no? This was like heyday. I would imagine this came out in like 2015-ish, a couple of years back. It's beautiful, really is beautiful. Okay, hitting the coffee. taking a fisherman's friend on board and join you in a second. I can feel my voice is already going. We're only 64 minutes into the show. Oh dear. Again, Fisherman's Friend Fund has been incredible. All the donations have been going towards packets of these. Okay, up next. Thank you for sending this in, Chris. We Watch Guy. I'm sure you'll see this later if you're not on the show. Clint. Now, Clint is a fellow South African who now lives in Adelaide. I think he said Adelaide, Australia. And he sends in a 9F. Grand Seiko. Is this a 9F? I think it is. SBGN 003. Yeah, it's most definitely the 9F. It's my favorite of the line, actually. I really enjoy the orange accent. But very much, I mean, it takes the same cues from the Explorer that we've seen already. But I also like the pairing that he's done here. It's got this golf-inspired strap that goes with it. I think the other week he sent in a Polar Explorer, believe it or not. We Watch Guy is here. Fantastic. Yeah, so 9F quartz. The one thing that I just dislike is the ticking seconds hand. But then this is probably the most accurate quartz movement in the world. So in saying that, you can't really go wrong with it. If you ever needed to buy a quartz watch, if you ever wanted to, for accuracy and everything else, this one takes the cake because it really is hardcore in every shape and form. Clive, thank you for the Fisherman's Friend. What an alliteration. Thanks, Clive, for that. Yeah, they really do help me a lot, I must say. Even when I do recordings nowadays for videos. That's great. Even when I do recordings, it helps so much. Eucalyptus, whatever they put in these things. Menthol, what is it? I don't know. I'm reading the packaging now. Who knows? Gorgeous. And we have a few more of these. We actually have a few more 9F specific Grand Seikos that will be coming up in a second. But Clint, I hope you're enjoying Australia. Hope you're enjoying the sun. I'd love to come out and visit. I haven't been to Australia in years. It's the other side of the world for me now. It's unreal. Oh, Clive, you're up next. Wouldn't you believe? So swallowing my saliva. Clive sends in a commissioned piece. And by all means, Clive, crack cocaine. It sure is, Megan. It's also cherry flavored. It's incredible. Fisherman's Friend, cherry flavor. Do yourselves a favor. Do it. You'll never look back. So, Clive, if you're in the chat now, which you probably are, please comment on this piece in a bit more detail. You've obviously asked a close friend to make one of these pieces for you. It incorporates the typical 1016 dial layout. I've never heard of Namoki before in my life. Is it a Japan? I would imagine it's a 9015 Miyota. Is it a Japanese movement? But he's really been enjoying this watch. He enjoys the 1016 effect. And if any of us know Clive Watch Wrangler, we know that he has a phenomenal collection. The one piece in the collection that everyone hates him for is the 321 Speedmaster that he picked up. He got for something like $3,000 or something just ridiculous that makes everyone cry. The fact that he's enjoying, homage, micro brand, I can't exactly explain this piece. It's pretty nice. We can see that it's probably 39 mils. It has quite a deep bezel, which is something quite unique and interesting. I should have actually featured the Smith's Everest as well to show as a comparison. But the dials on these watches, I mean, the dial itself is what makes it sing. I love the numerals. Why Rolex cannot recreate one of these again? Speaking of which, if Dear Artifact is here, there's lots of talk about Tudor re-releasing the Ranger very soon. And we really hope that we get a Tudor Ranger like the original with those beautiful numerals again. Mr. Vintage asking, where do we send them? Best $300 I ever spent, Clive. That's hilarious. And there's also a great loom shot that you took. It looks like C3, might be. Oh, come on. Magic mouse, work with me here. Loom, there we go. The question about where to send them, in the description of this video, if you scroll down a little bit, you'll see my email should be on the second line. Just after saying submissions are closed, you see enquire, and that's the email you can reach me at. And just send me a photo of the watch you're wearing. That's generally how the series goes. Dear Artifact here, fantastic. Clyde's the master of rare birds. Yeah, he has the full set of rare bird Rolexes. Yeah, it's great. So it's cool to see that someone can appreciate. I think the real watch enthusiast is someone who can appreciate $300,
$300,000, because there's so much value in this hobby that is neglected. I'm sure there are a few more pieces that we're going to see on the show of watches that aren't expensive, but can be appreciated and enjoyed just because their aesthetics are so fantastic. Okay, going to carry on through. I want to say hi to you a bit more. Rob's saying, keep forgetting you're not Eastern Standard Time. If you're talking to me, yeah, we're sitting in the UK, we're sitting GMT, you know. And again, if you'd like to get a hold of me, tag me in the chat. I read it. It's so much easier for me to read the comment. Watchland saying, it doesn't matter the cost of the watch. It's the enjoyment you get out of it. Yeah, for sure. And Clive saying, I think it punches above its price point. I mean, all of these pieces, there's some, just the watches we've seen at the moment. Like, okay, I'm going to go back up to the top and share the watches in the beginning of the show. This little Smith's will cost you about £400. That's about $550 roughly. It has ETA movement. There's a few more of these in stock, I believe. And then we jump to the Longines Heritage. This piece costs you about £1,000. So what's that, like $1,200 or so? And for bang per buck, you're getting proper heat blued hands, all these little details. And yeah, that's what I mean. And then in between, we've been looking at Moser Endeavors and everything else. So I mean, the watch enthusiast, it's a sickness. It's a pure sickness. So thank you for setting this in, Clive. It's nice seeing a bit of a different take. Please, next week, Clive, if you could, send in your Speedmaster. I would love to see that 321. I can't remember what the condition is like, but it'd be so nice to share it with everyone. We can talk about the quirks like the dot over 90 and all of that stuff. Okay, thank you for this, Clive. Next, we're jumping to Cole with one of the most coolest shots of the show, I believe. He sent this in, I think, today, actually, or yesterday, somewhere. Titanium Ploprof from Omega. And I think it's just so gnarly. This is one of my favorite overbuilt divers from the family. Clive saying, give me 4 minutes for sure. It's a behemoth. Yeah, it sure is. And what makes this so good? You're dealing with a watch that is, what, like 47 millimeters in total size. You're dealing with a watch that, quite frankly, looks rushed and overbuilt, just stupidly overbuilt. You know, made in the 70s. It has all the right cues of a 70s watch. Again, I'm tripping over my fisherman's friend that's rattling around. Orange highlights. But what makes it just phenomenal is the movement is incredible. I mean, it's a master chronometer, as you can expect. I'm sure it's METAS. This is brand new, actually, so it probably is METAS certified. It's a titanium version of this piece. I'd actually love to own this watch, but I can't wear it on my right wrist because the crown would just kill me. But being a titanium Ploprof means that it wears light. So for the size, it doesn't feel heavy, you know? Exhibition case back, is that so, Eric Bell? Thank you. And there's just such funny little quirks about this. You push this orange button down, and that's how you adjust the bezel. It's so overdone. The crown guard. I mean, the crown is facing you, so what are the odds that it would snag on anything? The crown guard, the way it operates is you basically unwind the crown, and that unlocks this area. Look up Tim Mosso doing a review of this piece on Watchbox. It's beautiful, and just the colors, the matte effect that the dial gives you, along with, you know, the black accents and the orange highlights everywhere. It's nuts. Also love the bottle cap-esque looking bezel knurling and the shark mesh and everything. I mean, it's so much fun. It's such a great watch. Thank you for sending this in, Cole. I really enjoy it. This was featured on the Instagram post earlier today. If anyone's on Instagram, I normally before the show post 10 watches that I really enjoyed that work really well together, and this one definitely was featured. It's just bonkers, but in that ridiculousness, the fact that it's titanium, that it's actually wearable, kind of wearable, it's great. Okay, Cole, thank you for this. I'm going to jump to Curtis next, who sends in, I think, the first Black Bay of the show. Black Bay, steel and gold. Really underrated watch in the line. I'm going to catch up with all of you in the chat again. Stunning plunger hands. Eric, absolutely. I mean, 70s to the T. Interesting, but not a one watch. No, Matthew, definitely not. It's so polarizing, but it's just, you know, it's something that you wear to just show off. I don't even know the depth. Let me just have a look at the depth rating. I can't even remember. 4,000 feet. What's that in meters? 300 is 1,000. So
Let me try and think about the maths while I get to the comments. 300 meters is 1,000 feet. So you times that by 4. So what is that? 1,200 meters roughly. I don't know. Geez, maths is appalling. I can't do maths while I'm running the show. Is this a new release from Amiga? Speedy? No, it's been around for a while. I think it came out like a year or two ago. It's not old, but the titanium Ploprof, I know they've just brought out quite recently, and yeah, it's gorgeous. Hansi Crunier, Ryan saying. Where did that come from? That's funny. Okay, let's scroll down. Hansi Crunier was a cricket player who did some pretty bad things. Got it right. I think Megan's saying something about she really enjoys it. A weapon on your wrist? Yeah, for sure. It absolutely is. Who is the greatest South African cricketer of all time? Wayne. Oof. Umla. Umla is probably one of the greatest when it comes to batting. I'm definitely not a cricket person, so don't ask me those things. Herschel Gibbs is great. Hansi is pretty cool, except, yeah, he was a terrible captain. What else? Who else? Rabada as a bowler. This young guy from Michael House, if anyone's from South Africa. Rabada as a fast bowler. Is he a fast? He is a fast bowler. He is exceptional. I mean, he gets like 9 wickets in a game, no problem. So we do have a few Black Bay 58s. Thanks for the email, Clive. I'll definitely save it for the next show. Okay, Monty Rhodes, yeah, Oscar Pistorius. Don't hear about Pistorius anymore, right? So steel and gold. This being a 41mm Black Bay. This is not your Black Bay 58. It's a little bit larger. But again, underrated for what it is. You get to enjoy the quality of two-tone for an affordable price. It's not definitely not everyone's cup of tea with the hour hand the way it is, but it represents the brand well. And yeah, just clean and clear, simple. A.B. de Villiers, there's lots of South African lovers on the show. It's great. Yeah, I'm not a cricket person. You know, growing up as a kid in South Africa, you're kind of forced to play cricket. And, you know, you always have your good days. You have a good day when you go out and bat. Oh, Dear Artifact's next. Oof. Dear Artifact, you absolute gem. This man knows how to take a photo. A Black Bay 58 from Dear Artifact. And his wrist is perfect for this. We can talk about that in a second. So when you're a kid growing up in South Africa, generally in the Southern Hemisphere, you're almost forced to play cricket, right? And 90% of the time you're fielding, meaning that you're just standing somewhere. And I was usually either right at the wickets, shortstop, what do they call it? I can't remember. Or either at the boundaries, the back. And I'd often choose to be at the boundaries because you just didn't get what is cricket. It's a really old-fashioned baseball, basically. It can be a lot of fun, but holy, the amount of hours I remember just standing around, you get so bored, you start like watching butterflies on the floor because it gets that bad, you know? So just a beautiful shot from Dear Artifact. I think it's stunning. Oh, batting was my favorite back in the day. You have those streaks where some days you get 20, 30, 40 runs, and then you get days where we're out first ball, and they call it a duck. And yeah, generally 90% of the time you get out first ball or in the first over. And then you have those golden days where you get 30, 40 runs and it's just you're on top of the world. Look at this shot. It's just phenomenal. You want to see a photo that represents a brand, Dear Artifact. Let me put them in the chat. If you're in, and Russell's joined us. Great to have you, Russell. And something, I haven't seen you. Welcome. I'm going to type in Dear Artifact. If you're on Instagram, follow this man. Follow that little tag right there and thank me later, because he has such a great taste in utilitarian watches and field watches. He likes the monotone effect that watches have, very much like me in a way. I don't like watches that scream too much. And this, to me, I think he hit the nail on the head when he spoke about this watch in the past, saying that this watch really represented what everyone wanted. I mean, look at this. He has a phenomenal wrist for this watch too. I'd imagine it's like, what, 7.5, 7 3/4. The watch fits so well. So yeah, it's just the quality of the photo is phenomenal. I mean, you get to see everything. You get to see the fingerprint on the bezel and all of those details. I'm going to leave this here for a second as I get to you in the chat. There's such good watches coming up later on. Jeez, I can't get over it. Sleeve is not tough enough for the watch, Zombie says. So and something, and something did mention, growing up, everyone plays hockey. Used to play without helmets or any protection. Are we talking standard? Just, you know, hockey is a lot of fun. And I'm thinking Americans, I think ice hockey a lot more, but hockey was also something that was big when I grew up. And you mainly just wear shin pads, nothing else. And that can be rough. I mean, I've had friends who've had the ball go right into their faces. And a hockey ball, you don't want that hitting you in the face. Cricket balls are pretty bad, but a hockey ball being whacked up and chipped into your face, yeah, I mean, that's broken cheekbone territory right there. I don't like YouTube watch channels that scream too much, Clive says. Yeah, I try not to. I try to keep it as mellow as possible, but sometimes it gets out of control. Field hockey, as Wayne's saying. So I'd imagine Wayne is a South African. Pretty great. Another shot. Is someone else doing it at that angle? Russell's asking, he's directing the question to Dear Artifact. Is someone taking the shot at an angle? I feel like Dear Artifact has a full-on studio. He has a setup with a tripod and everything else. Gorgeous. Okay, moving on. Got to move on. Derek. Now, Derek sent in, this was going to be the cover photo for the show, but sadly, I couldn't find one that worked extremely well with the arm and everything else. He sent me a few landscape shots, but they just didn't work in time, and I stole the Grand Seiko instead. But we have, I feel like this is the 39mm. Oh, it's just gorgeous. It's got a sunset in the background. Look at the way the sun played on this piece. So it's a 39mm ceramic Planet Ocean, and I just love it. What makes it so great is that just contrast. The way the light hits everything, you get to really appreciate the ceramic dial and how the numerals work, the shadows that they form underneath. Should I say the reflections? Zirconium oxide, I'm pretty sure means ceramic, or dioxide, should I say. It's a dioxide, so zirconium dioxide. 600 meters. The one element that many don't like is the wart on the side. Actually mentioned during our dive watch video earlier this week. But I mean, it's just such a pleasure getting shots like these to appreciate the detail. It's beautiful. Holy moly. Is that Megan? 160 Australian dollars. Megan, you guys are too good to me, really. I don't know what to say. That is unbelievable. This is all going towards the project that I'm working on. And let me read your super chat. Thank you so much for this, Megan. Don't forget to show your appreciation for the show. Dedicated time. Yeah, I have fun doing it. So really, doesn't matter if you don't appreciate it or not. And as Megan says, she's been through, I mean, she really has been through a difficult time. I can't believe you're actually watching the show, Megan, because you and your sister, mother as well, you have been working nonstop, day on day. And I haven't heard from you in like over a week. That's how busy you've been. So yeah, I really hope you're coping okay. James should be back in the picture very soon. He's recovered, but he's had a gnarly time as well. You know, we can tell, we can maybe get James to share the story with everyone, but he's had one hell of a time. Quite a life turning story that I'm sure most of us would like to hear about. But yeah, Megan, this is by far the biggest. I don't even know what that is in pounds sterling. I have no idea what it is, but trust me, it's all going towards a project that I'm working on currently. Lots of design work going on behind the scenes, and I think you're all going to enjoy it as a community. So cannot thank you enough, Megan. That is so stupidly generous. I don't know what to say. Australian dollars causes horn growth, as Clive says. Yeah, for sure. I mean, you don't hear about Australian dollars often enough, right? Thank you so much, Megan. Really, from the bottom of my heart, it is so generous. Okay, going to carry on. I'm going to get sidetracked. I'm reading all the super chats and everything else. I mean, the comments. So Derek sends in this beautiful piece. I really enjoy it. It's one of the standouts from their line. I feel like this is the 39mm, but I might be wrong. This could be the 42 variant of the Planet Ocean. Next from Demetrius from Greece. He sends in a Seamaster. And it's the first ceramic Seamaster that came out back in the day, but has a shark mesh bracelet. And it looks phenomenal. It really does look good. Look at it. I am on the hunt for a shark mesh just like this to put on my piece, because I've seen it before. I've seen my 57, and go back up. I can actually still. This is what I've been wearing most of the weekend and everything else. I've seen this watch on a shark mesh bracelet, and it looks the business. It looks so good. I could talk about this watch for days. I just enjoy it so much. Anyway, I can't get back. Demetrius. So talking about the ceramic, just this first generation of the ceramic Seamaster, they had a few issues. What's great about them now is that you can get them for good prices. But one thing I think that made this watch a bit polarizing is the bracelet. And they seem to have cleaned it up very well with the later generations, with the flatter links. So I think Demetrius has done something pretty great with this. He's made it a lot more timeless with this style bracelet on the watch. It's just a superb, practical, everyday wearer. 41 mils. It's a dive watch, but you can just wear it everywhere. And this bracelet, to me, adds a lot more visual complexity to the package. You get to appreciate just the way the light plays on the bracelet, as well as how it works on the lugs, the red highlights and accents. The blue on this watch isn't as, what would we say, explosive. Is that a bad word? Is this the James Bond? No, it's not, Ryan. This is the older, the newer generation. We've actually got a few. We've got an original James Bond coming up later, I think. We've got a few of these professionals. I think we have all the different transitions, actually. But this being the next step up with the ceramic, the last time that the James Bond character wore a watch similar to this was in 2006 with Daniel Craig in Casino Royale. And he was still wearing the aluminium bezel variants. This came just after that. But I just love the shark mesh. It is stunning. And what makes it so unique and great is that it has the exposed spring bar linked up to it. So you get to really appreciate the finesse of the bracelet and how it works. I love it. And if I'm not wrong, these are only assigned to Ploprof models nowadays. So if anyone has one on offer, send me some details in the email. It'd be great. Okay. Moving on through, thank you for this, Demetrius. I do remember seeing you in the chat. Dylan sends in an Air King, and I think this is also brand spanking new. He just picked up this watch, and we can talk about this in a second. When I get you in the chats, I have oh my goodness, DOP sends. I don't even know that I missed it. The chats are just going ridiculous here. Hold on a second. Australian dollars causes hair growth, or whatever, horn growth. Thanks for that, Clive. Scrolling through. Megan saying, sorry about being stuck in Australia. There was a ridiculous from Juan. I don't even know what that currency is, but holy Moses, what is that? Juan, I can't even, is that really a decimal point I'm seeing there? What is that? Juan, I don't know what to say. This is Puerto Rican. I don't know. What is the currency? Please, thank you so much for that. I'm just blown away. All of you who are sending in donations to the show, it means the world to me. It's not why I do these shows, but incredible. Dominican peso. I don't want to make a joke about it, Jimmy. I really don't know. Divided by 60. Thank you so much, Juan. Really, such a pleasure. Wristwatch experience again, more Australian dollars. Oh, geez, you guys are great. I can't keep up with the chats and do this at the same time. Let's talk about the watches. Damn it. Okay. So Rolex Air King. This, funnily enough, we've actually spoken about this earlier. It's in a similar way. I think Dylan picked up this watch because he wanted the peculiarity factor, very much like the Explorer that we saw in the beginning. M. Greenlee, is this you? This might be you in the chat at the moment. So what this watch basically represented was surplus details. They took the T-Rex hands from the original 214. They took the white gold numerals and they fitted it into this piece, 39 mils. And then it just went nuts with the dial. And in a way, I really like it because the Air King is actually such an important model to the line. It was given to RAF pilots in the 50s as well. That's where it was based. It's a commemorative piece to that time. We watch guys saying 1,500 is a lot of beef and reef. Sure is. I can't remember the last time I had a pizza, we watch guy. Honestly, I've been following keto diet for I don't know how long, all my life practically at this point. Feels like I haven't eaten pizza in so long. Anyway, getting back to this. So this being a piece inspired by aviation pieces given to RAF pilots, this Rolex's Flieger, Christian, that's just what I was about to say. It uses the Type B style dial that we would expect from Fliegers of the 40s, the German-inspired pieces. And it's a love it or hate it thing, for sure. The one element that I have debated and spoken about so much, Speedy saying, wish it was a 05. This is something I brought up in a video that I think I made when I just started doing write-ups about watches. Look at that irregular spacing. That's the one thing I've always just never understood, why they couldn't put a 0 to the 5 and just keep it symmetrical, because every single numeral on the dial is double. So why not just, oh, Rolex. But then, how often do we see this? And it would be nice to see more of this with Rolex's pieces. The green highlights with the yellow coronet, the green seconds hand. It's so quirky, but it does feel like a Rolex watch for sure. Flieger did not have 05. Thank you for that, BDev. That's a good point. Maybe that's why they didn't incorporate it. I really don't know. But it's quite peculiar, for me at least, my stupidly pedantic eye. I just feel like the offset is just, I mean, just look at it. I move it around the screen and it's that negative space there. Anyway, there's a few more shots. I think he's been enjoying it in the water. I titled this Cyclops, Air King Cyclops. And I have a theory, by the way. When it came to developing the Cyclops, I've got so many chats going on here at the moment. I hope I can keep up with all of you. I'm going to scroll up and see what's going on. Again, all of you who I have missed, I'm trying my best to present and run the show at the same time, so I struggle at best. So I have this theory of, I feel like a designer or an engineer or someone was just walking in the rain one day and got a raindrop on the crystal and realized that it worked so well. And that's really how the Cyclops was started. I really don't know how the process, but I mean, sometimes inspiration strikes that way. And to me, when you see how the water works on the dial, it really does feel like that's how the inspiration began all those years back. But he's using this in the pool. We get to see it fully submerged, which is great. I mean, wear the watch. It's waterproof. It can take a hit. Go for it. I mean, it's such a, in this angle, it looks like such a great everyday wearing watch, you know? Can't unsee the gap. Sorry, Gary. I'm afraid I have ruined this watch for a lot of people in the past. Believe you me. This makes for such a great everyday looking watch. It's a field watch from Rolex. Think about it. We've spoken about the Explorer being the field watch, but this truly is the field watch from the family. And we've looked at field watches already on the show. It's great, no? Really unique and interesting and different. Also, just like how the watch is being so distorted by the water itself. Great photo. It's fantastic. And Dylan is mentioning, I don't know if this is also from you, Dylan. Need to check. Maybe the designer was a pirate, Clive. You never know, right? Pirate from Somalia. We watch guys saying, it's funny you mentioned the green accents. GMT Master in black with its green accents really is different and stands out for sure. I mean, and that's the watch that so many people are jumping on nowadays because it's out of production and it's collectible. And Megan's saying, loving the green Rolex branding. And that's it. I mean, it represents the brand so much clearer. The yellow and green accents and highlights gives you that idea of classic Rolex, you know, before the modernness took over. You know what I mean? I don't know if this is the same Dylan, but he also sends in this. This looks like the same arm. Yeah, this is the same Dylan, I'm pretty sure. He sends in a shot of his new Speedmaster, Seamaster Professional. Come on, guy. Wake up. We'll be talking an hour 35 at this point, taking another hit of the coffee. Junior Johnson, thank you so much for the super chat. I think you've just joined. If you have, welcome. We've been having a great time. The first hour and a half, we've looked at some insane pieces. I Am the Captain, Jimmy. It's a good film. Somalian pirates, no joke, man. I mean, geez, Africa, no joke. That's all I can say. There's a new headline the other day saying that South Africa is one of the most dangerous places in the world. I tell you, when the BBC suddenly wakes up and picks up on these things, it's impressive. You should have maybe highlighted that 10 years ago, but that's what I'm saying. And Mr. Vintage saying, I like Vostok. You're going to be in for a surprise in a second, Mr. Vintage, because we have a full Vostok collection on the show for a change, which is something unique. Okay. Catching up with more of you in the chats. Let's see, there's more laughs and jokes. I don't care what anyone says. I love the wave dials of those Speedmasters. Yeah, we watch guy. It's great. I mean, it really is. We're going to look at this piece in more detail now. So Clive's saying it's like a vegan liberal cousin of the extended Rolex family. It only shows up once a year to ruin Thanksgiving. Christian asking, do I speak Afrikaans? I'm definitely not going to make a fool of myself on the show. But yeah, ek kan Afrikaans praat. 'n bietjie. Nie so goed, Ik kan dit verstaan though. So, you know, I have relatives who are Afrikaans, and I can understand it a lot better than I can speak it, but it's a funny language though, right? So this is Dylan also sharing. So this piece, I've been quite harsh and Hakuna Matata. I've been quite harsh and ruthless on this model because I've always found that the silver dial, this is just my opinion on this watch itself, I feel that the silver dial almost looks like the transitional, you know, almost like someone on the factory floor says, hey, this looks cool. Why do we even need to paint it? Let's just send it out. It feels to me like the unfinished dial on the piece. So it's pretty funny. I don't know if that's just me, if someone else feels the same way. But the silver dial does complement the stainless steel very well. And the blue is also accents it very nicely. Are these heat blued hands? I'd like to know that. But the wave dial is terrific. The one element that I really like about the watch, in fact, is the wave dial. Again, ceramic, all ceramic dial, ceramic bezel. You really get to discern all the details, especially in this light. You get to see the angle. And then GM Shadow Traders, the horror, the helium valve. That's a Dutch heritage, Ryan's saying. Yeah, it's funny. I mean, I'm what? I'm English, German, Scottish. That's my background, really. And I've got some South African in there as well. Or should I say Afrikaans? I think I have a bit of Afrikaans in me as well. Very small amount. English, German, Scottish is the majority. But you just learn, you know, you study Afrikaans all the time, and it's a peculiar language. What's great is that no one knows the language, so you can really get away with murder. You know what I mean? And she's Kit Johnson, $3 Australian dollars again. All of you Aussies, fantastic having you here, really. And there was another, I saw from Hans a second ago. I've seen there's another chat. I recognize his, is that Hans? $4 saving up for the Watch Lounge. Sorry, Watch Lounge sent in a chat, $5 US saying, saving for an Explorer, 21420 myself. But a shout out to you, sir. Thanks as always. Oh, geez, Watch Lounge. It's an absolute pleasure, really. It truly and really is. I love doing this. You guys make the show for me. That's the bonus, is that it's almost like Russian roulette. We never know what we're going to see. And the watches that come in are just phenomenal, as we will keep seeing as we go through. Okay, Dylan, thank you for sending these pieces in. Unbelievable. Eric Bell next. Oh, this is cool. This is just Eric Bell to the T. Tell us what loch this is, please, Eric. He's based in Loch Lomond. But as many of you know, in the Lake District, this isn't the Lake District. I'm new to the UK. This looks like a gorgeous setting. He's wearing a Citizen, it's called a Solar Zilla, 53mm titanium with a 7mm sapphire crystal. Okay, we can talk. This is Loch Lomond. Okay, great. Thank you for that, Eric. Let's have a talk about this piece. I think it's just nuts. Has a free lock case. I think you can undo it, which is amazing. And I'm seeing more bloody. What are you guys doing with these super Jomas? 121 click bezel. Thanks for what you do. Luckily enough to get an Omega and a Rolex this week. Kids don't need college, right? So both of these watches, the Rolex and the Omega, came in same week. Those two pieces, the Air King and the Professional. That is terrific. That is so cool. No, kids don't need college. We need to enjoy ourselves. I mean, that's just the way it is. And Julian saying, Han kak in der Bosveld again. I'm going to correct you on that, Julian. I'll type it in the chat again. The real expression is Han, G-A-A-N, kak, in, D-I-E, milis, M-I-E-L-I-E-S. I think that's how you spell it. Han kak in die milis is the better way of saying it. And it's kind of easy to put together. I don't think YouTube will cut out anything on here because it's a foreign language that many won't understand. Jimmy, thank you for the super chat. I can't even keep up now with the chat and what's going on. BDev, thank you. I don't think it's really a citizen, Clive says. It's more like an illegal alien with a botched green card. All of you guys, geez, I can't thank you enough. So what makes this watch ridiculous? Okay, let's have a look at the lume first off. Gorgeous night sky. I would imagine this is quite recent because the sun's still up and I've got the moon in the background. The lume is just nuts. But here is the party piece compared to a Seiko tuner, which is not a small watch. We get to see just how the case stacks up next to a Seiko tuner. Those of us who know Eric Bell know that he really enjoys his divers, his overbuilt divers. And yeah, just seeing it in all its glory It's nuts. I love the power reserve though. Citizen Eco Drive solar, meaning that it's solar powered, but you can also manually wind it. It's not automatic then, right? It's a quartz of some kind. It's just ridiculous. It's nuts. I think it's great. And yeah, what a stunning piece. Just super ridiculous. Can you actually remove this case, this outer case? I'd like to know, Eric, if you're still in the chat. Is that the size of a dive computer? Basically. And again, I have to emphasize, the Seiko tuner is not a small watch. This is like 15 millimeters in thickness. So this is like, what, 30 at this point? What, I don't know. It didn't give me the 53 millimeters in diameter. It didn't give me the actual thickness of the watch itself. Okay, going to carry on through, Eric. Thank you for sending this in. Ridiculous. We're going to have a look at a gorgeous, my favorite Breguet, modern Breguet in the line at the moment. Are you ready, ladies and gentlemen? This is the reference 5207 from our man, Freddie Turner, who should be in the chat. Beautiful, absolutely stunning. Now, it's a retrograde seconds. I was, quite literally, before I picked up the Seamaster, I was thinking to myself, what would make a great dress watch? And this, to me, hits all the right marks for my tastes. So when we talk about Breguet as a brand, 23 millimeters, is that really the thickness, Russell? Thank you for sharing. So just jumping back, this is 23 millimeters thick. I mean, that is just ludicrous, right? So talking about Breguet's retrograde seconds, meaning that the seconds hand jumps. As it hits the 60-second mark, it jumps back to 0. It flicks back. Look it up on YouTube. It's so underrated, this piece. It really is. They're not cheap. I think they're like 10 grand. But for what you're getting, look at it. And the best thing of all, as much as Breguet really celebrates asymmetry with the way they do their dials, the way this has been done, where it's clean and clear, everything is centered so perfectly. You have your power reserve at the top here. So you wind the watch and this gauge constantly moves up to the 65-hour mark. Ooh, everything is nicely centered. It really represents the brand so well. Gary, another super chat. Thank you. This has been the most ridiculous show. It really has been. Talking about exceptional watches, this really is the most. I've never received so much in a super chat series before. Yeah, you guys. Okay, so trust me, it's all going towards this project that I'm working on, and I cannot thank you all enough for donating and being a part of the show. So what else? Retrograde seconds, power reserve, clean, clear, simple. Also just love how the dial itself, I mean, look at the case. And then you notice that the dial has been set inwards. It's actually offset. This might be peculiar for those of you who don't enjoy a watch that is perfectly symmetrical. But when it comes to talking about Breguet as a brand, it gets to keep its name at the top there. Double Breguet at the 12. I mean, it's beautiful. Look at that engraving. And then the guilloche. All machine turned. And the guilloche changes as we jump to the retrograde. It is so underrated. It's all I can say again and again. Gold plots. I think this is white gold. This is a white gold variant. You do get this. I don't know if you get this in yellow gold. Not sure. Blued hands again, yes. Breguet hands. It's my favorite Breguet in the line, bar none. So thank you for sending this in, Freddie. And of course, anyone who sends in a high horology watch should send in the movement. And we get to appreciate the movement shot. Again, we have this gorgeous engine turning on the counterbalance. Beautiful script. It has 34 jewels to it, which is just nuts for a retrograde. Is pretty impressive, actually. Reference 5207. I really like the fact, let me turn this around. I really like the fact that they put the reference number to the watch at the top. So in case you're a bit number challenged like me, it helps. Gorgeous watch. My favorite Breguet by far. If I had all the money in the world right now, I would be picking up one of these. This would be the watch for me. Okay, where are the Blancpains? I don't think there is a Blancpain zombie boozer today, but there's still some great stuff. So Freddie, thank you for sending this in. My favorite watch in your collection, actually. I could look at this all day, honestly. Okay, moving to the next piece from Graham, and Graham sends in another hidden gem in the Tudor family. I don't know what you would call this as a watch. I've actually held and used one of these before, tried it on in the past, and it's so different. It's so different and unique. Eric Bell's saying that was my dainty dress diver, talking about that dive watch. Yeah, I mean, you guys are so great. I'm trying to keep up with you in the chats, and I always struggle as it is. So the North Flag, and I'm sure if Clive is still in the chat, he will give the proper name for this watch. Tudor North Flag, a piece made to commemorate the North Greenland expedition in the 50s. And there should be more emphasis on what the North Greenland expedition was about, because it's amazing. Look it up on YouTube. Ron the Shrink watch. Does he have one of these, Zombie? Boozer? That's awesome. I mean, everything about it is just peculiar. If you're wearing this as an everyday watch, you don't need a power reserve. But then the date complication is a nice extra. What I love so much about this photo is the fact that he captures all the highlights. We get to see the orange of the yellow of the strap, the yellow of the power reserve, second hand. It really does highlight the watch in its purest form. Now, where it sits, this watch took its inspiration from the Ranger II, which came out in and around the 70s. And we can see how that inspiration has been translated in when we look at mainly the hour plots at the 12 and at the 6. And it's just quirky. I mean, it reminds you of something like, what's a good film? What is that film? Was it a Spielberg film? No, it wasn't. I'm going to be sitting thinking about it all the time with Harrison Ford. I've never actually watched it. Oh my gosh, I'm going to be struggling now. What is that film called? Maybe someone can help me. Harrison Ford, and it's all about 1980s-esque inspired future. Please, if someone knows their films, you can maybe help me out here. I'm struggling. Guys are just chatting. It's always good. Raiders of the Lost Ark. Yes, we watch Raiders of the Lost Ark. That's it. Damn it, I'm going to be Blade Runner. Thank you, Thomas. Blade Runner. Well, how did I not? I drew a blank. Thank you, Clive. This to me feels like the Blade Runner watch of that time, because it's like that modern retro futuristic styling. Fist Runner. Thank you, Boozer. Thank you, guys. Really, I'm drawn a complete blank. I'm normally good with films and characters. This time around, Blade Runner, I missed it completely. Thank you, everyone. This is the Blade Runner watch, I think. It feels like it sits in that retro futuristic timeline. Maybe RoboCop as well. Who knows? Thank you for this, Graham. This was also going to be a watch. This was shortlisted for a cover photo because just look at it. It epitomizes what you want to see with a watch like this. You get all the accents, highlights, colors, tones, lighting's fantastic. Dial is clear. Great. I could see the Nostro crew wearing an alien. Yeah, for sure. I mean, same thing. Same kind of period, 70s era, 70s transitional, 80s period. Okay, next up, Gunter sends in a Seiko SRP 777 on a bracelet. And what I liked about this is we get to see it on the bracelet with the lume. We also get to see it on a rubber strap in a second. And the SRP 777, it's a Prospex piece I can see on the dial. Again, inspired by the turtle. I don't know if they obviously call this the turtle. This doesn't have the Pepsi finish. There's so many variants in the family. I struggle so hard to keep up with it. But you can see all the turtle elements, how they've been translated through. Okay. I'm going to catch up with you in the chat if I can. Miles saying, your content has more nutrition than any other cool kids at the watch table on YouTube. Miles, I'm just a guy who chats about watches. Really, I just enjoy doing it. The write-ups are so much fun because the diversity is always there. It's never a dull day. And if it was dull and boring, trust me, I wouldn't be doing it. So it's the audience makes the show so much more engaging too. The fact that we can all just Japan watch, as Mr. Vincent says, is that because this date window changed to Japan script as well? Maybe it's the encode at the base. So if it wasn't for all of you, these live shows would never be as engaging and entertaining, which is always a pleasure. I mean, I love doing it. It's so much fun. And this being such a Russian roulette, we never know what we're going to see. But as it is, the variety is always here and it comes in spades. So let's see. Another loom shot on I can imagine this is what the watch arrives on a tropic style strap. Looks great. Really does look nice. And again, I mean, it's so nice seeing Seikos featured. We're going to see more of them in a second. We're going to see Grand Seikos just now. And yeah, for all of you here, Japanese watch. I don't know, Clive. I see that's the thing. I have to try and keep up with the chats and just scroll. Chili Badger mentioning Oscar Pistorius. Yeah, he was that trial was freaking abysmal. That's all I can say. That could have been so much better handled. And yeah, that guy,
guilty as charged, all I can say. Psychopath. There's someone who has that name on Instagram as a handle, and I thought it was the best thing I'd ever seen. Natalie, I am a psychopath. It's a fantastic username, right? Okay, so thank you for this, Gunther. Next, we're jumping to Hamido. I hope I'm getting your name right. Hamido. He sends in 2 spectacular photographs. Spectacular. And you'll see why in a second. First off, we have the 41mm Aqua Terra with a silver dial, blue elements on the batons and the hands. It does just look so good in the light, and you seldom see this watch in the light, you know. Speedy's saying the Japanese domestic market version means that has Japanese days and English on the wheel. Thank you, Speedy Paul. So you basically have 2 sets. You have seven English days and 7 Japanese days. And I'd imagine that the Sunday is also red on the Japanese edition. No? I'd like to know that. Nice blinds. And this is what's great. I mean, I've heard that the inspiration behind the dial on these pieces was on the yachts, you know, the oak or the wooden flooring that would be featured on yachts. What would be the best wood used on a yacht? I don't know. What timber? But the idea is you have these slats and these divides that basically, you know, give you the impression that you're dealing with a watch built for the sea and the ocean. And just funny enough today, if you've watched, I really enjoy watching Tim Mosso's weekly, I don't know, what does he call them? His weekly shows where he discusses, you know, just a series of watches that he has in his collection, whatever he has on hand. And he featured a blue dial rose gold variant of this piece, and it is phenomenal. It's caught my attention. Look it up. Type in Aqua Terra, blue dial, rose gold, and have a look at some video footage of that watch. It looks gorgeous. They retail for like 14 grand. I'm sure you can get them much better on the gray market. But as a watch that represents, you know, sports and elegance and everything, they nailed it with this piece. Now, why does this submission from Hamido work so well? Well, first we have just a great blue on blue element, but then we jump to his Reverso that he sent in, and again we get to see, oh, I haven't looked at this photo up close. Yes, so this is a medium small seconds Reverso, and you just get to enjoy all the features. And this photo really does this watch justice, because you get to see the angles and just how well executed the case is. Look at those slots at the top and at the bottom. Can you believe this watch was inspired by the 30s and even still remains timeless? You have serif numerals on the dial, beautiful gloss to them. I mean, you get right in close. You see the gloss on all the numerals, the engine turning inside the dial, blued hands. See what I mean when I said that this show is exceptional? The watches really, really are exceptional. This is great. This has definitely been one of the best series of pieces that have come in for a show. And yeah, because of all of you that you've done this. Does it have a personalized engraving? No, it doesn't. I don't think it does. Sadly, he didn't send the case back shot. I don't know if this is a clear case back or if it's engraved or whatever else, or if it's a solid case back, I mean to say. I like oddly shaped watches. Yeah, for sure, for sure. This really, I mean, it's one of the best Reverso shots I've ever seen on the show. And we get right in. I mean, I've never even seen this texture before. Look at how around the dial we have these little stipples that run through. It looks almost like stitching. I don't know if that's just the way the crystal has been set inside it. Oh, it's just beautiful, man. It is absolutely beautiful. Everything, you know, you have a hook on the 7. There's so many things that just captivate you about this piece. JLC. It's the next brand that I'm considering, actually, if I ever make enough money to get another watch. That Omega really kicked me in the groin when I picked it up. Even though it was gray markets, yeah, it's just gorgeous. So, and something says, hey, do you know how JLC makes the pattern on the dial? A combination of guilloche and engine turning. Patek, awkward. Is that so, NS? Wow, didn't know that. I really didn't know that. And N something really knows his JLCs. I mean, he has 3 of them in his collection, I think. Miles, thank you for the super chat. Thank you so, so much. And again, thank you all so much for being a part of the show and sharing your pieces with all of us. I mean, it's just sort of makes these things such a great experience for all of us. Cracking photo, as Speedy Paul says. Absolutely. Definitely one of the top 10 photos shared. These two just managed to attack the angle in such a way that we get to appreciate the finer things about these watches. You know what I mean? JLC is beautiful, Megan. Yeah, I absolutely agree. Mark P saying, great show. I'm going to become a Patreon. Actually, I think we all should. Yeah, I don't know if
even $1 a month. So what I've done is I've looked at how the Patreon scheme works. And for those of you who have joined the Patreon page, cannot thank you enough. It's normally somewhere on the page. If you look at most of the videos I put up, it's there somewhere. What happens is Patreon takes like over 30, I think they take about 40% of whatever the amount is contributed, which is ridiculous. So you put in $1, I get like 60 cents out of that, and it's nuts. So I bumped it to $5 as a contribution. But I mean, whatever. For those of you who have become patrons and who support the channel, I mean, yeah, everyone who is a part of the show, I cannot thank you all enough, because it really does. It takes the pressure off in a way, helps me afford groceries and things like that. So, I mean, that kind of thing, just the fact that Patreon actually can pay for a week's shopping for me, it's incredible, absolutely incredible. So $1. Yeah, so Mark, Patreon is a great thing. Apparently there's some new sales tax thing going on. I don't know. We can talk about that in a second, actually. Got to move on to the next watch. Hamido, thank you for sending these in. Next from Heidi, who is based in, I can't remember where she's based. She gave me the name, but this is a female who watches the show, which is amazing. The second or third lady who actually, maybe there's about 5 women, I think, who watch the show, which is pretty impressive. Makes up all of like 0.2% of the audience, which is fantastic. She sends in a Seiko Presage. She sends in a few shots, but this one I think really captured the watch the best. And I just love the colors, man. Look at it. Wine finish, burgundy wine effect, a great amount of texture. The Presage is really known for it. And we never see this Presage in particular. We normally always see the champagne dial, you know, the silver dial. But seeing it in this color scheme and this finish with the flowers in the background, let me try and get some better shot there. She actually got a great shot of the flowers, but I didn't save it. There's so many watches as it is. Stunning, absolutely beautiful. We've been running the show for almost 2 hours at this point, and we've still got... I've spoken so much over the course of this show. And Bud the Stud, thank you so much. Thanks you so much for the super chat. Okay, going to carry on through. So Heidi, thank you for sending this in. I mean, it's stunning. I love the fact that ladies are contributing to the show. And there are a few of you. There are a fair few of you who have been a part. And Megan is the top contender. Megan and her sister. I know Emily. There's an Emily who watches the show a lot too. Eric Bell saying 4-hour show. It could definitely be 4-hour show. The Artifact saying the Presage is a super underrated watch. Absolutely, it is. For what you're paying, for what you're getting. It's very hard to find an automatic dress watch for an affordable price nowadays. And that's what Seiko has really managed to capitalize on with these pieces for sure. Thank you for this, Heidi. Also really like the bracelet too. Stunning. Really nice piece. It suits you well. And for a lady's watch, I mean, can you get better? It really stands out nicely. I love the colors. Okay, jumping to more Grand Seikos, funnily enough. Our man Jack, who is known as Dublin Watch. I'm going to Speedy Paul saying coffee time. I need to hit it, you're right. Dublin Watch, if you're on Instagram, again, follow this tag. And he really specializes in Grand Seiko. And what happened was, Jack is a friend of Jason, and both of them love their Grand Seikos. You notice that this high beat that we featured at the beginning of the show as the cover photo is also here. This is his variant. And again, I mean, just look how well it works in this light. It is beautiful. The photos are just absolutely stunning. Okay, gonna carry on scrolling through and trying to reach out to some of you in the chat. Have to break away to watch Ford vs Ferrari. BDev. It's actually a good film. I saw it recently. I do think they managed to bring across what the Ford GT40 did. It's a little bit, you know, it's definitely not period correct. I mean, when we talk about a real tribute to history, there's lots of things that they did sort of skimp over. I don't think Enzo Ferrari was present at the race that year at Le Mans. But lots of little things like what other details did they skimp? They really did emphasize the speed of the cars a little bit too much, but I mean, it's great. I mean, it's 60s, it's cool. It's a nice film. I highly recommend you watch it. I really was quite surprised. Normally, these tribute films can be quite, what do we say, but of art over substance. But this one does manage to pluck the heartstrings, and it's quite a lot of fun. Okay, I'm going to catch up with all of you again in the chat. That too looks unique. Sorry, getting a bit of dyslexia here. So I'm going to catch up with all of these. The door being jammed. Ford versus Ferrari was a great flick. Was that a true thing, Carl? It'd be interesting to know. Clive saying a fabulous film. He loves his PHs. It's great. I mean, anything that has an F evolved around it. It really did jam. Yeah. Rich Buddy, Ford is junk. Well, what I love is that underdog story. The Ford GT is still, to this day, quite a legend in the space. The latest Ford GT is incredible too, with V6. They've done a great job there. So yeah, talking about cars now, I can't. Watch my Cars vs. Watches video. I did that it didn't get any attention. That was fun. So GS High Beat, another 36,000 movements. Look at that dial. And also notice in this light, you get to appreciate the different colors. I mean, what kind of finish is this where you get to see so much? One thing that a friend of mine said was, they really do manage to weed out the fakers. Someone can't come and fake one of these watches, you know what I mean? And there's something about that. Some of the general production watches that are too simple can be faked so easily. But with a dial like this, it's very difficult. You have to be pretty skilled at faking a watch like this, you know what I mean? Also just love the tan strap that works so well together. Jack also sends in more. We've got I hope this is a snowflake. I didn't get the reference of this piece. And the quality is a bit low. That's from my side because he sent them to me on Google Drive and I couldn't access them fast enough. So yeah, I just kind of screen grabbed it. I hope that's okay. But here we have a combination of rose gold with some snowflake element to it. A beautiful, beautiful finish on the dial. It looks like we have a rose gold bezel as well as just the numerals and the batons in the hands. Heat blued seconds hand. Gorgeous complementary strap to spring drive as well, as Speedy says. Jamie, thank you so much for the super chat. All of you who have, I also see one from Ori, by the looks of things. No, Demetrius. Thank you, Demetrius. Helped buy the shark mesh. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the idea. That's the plan. I'd love to feature this watch on a shark mesh. I think you would be sold if you saw the 57. One more hour. Don't worry, Clive. We're gonna be way over an hour still doing this. Don't worry. There's still a lot to go through. Gorgeous piece. I love the corresponding the suede strap with the rose gold finish. There's more. Another shot from Jack. I think again I screenshotted this, so it's not the best. And then another snowflake. This is the more typical snowflake that we expect to see. If I'm not wrong, this is the titanium variant. And yeah, I mean, just such beautiful photos we get to enjoy. Clive, he so loves me right now. Don't worry, Clive. This show is going to be going on for another hour and a half at least, I would say. Just looking at the watches still on offer, another hour and a half for sure. It'll be a 3.5 hour show. I'm just saying that now, stating that as fact at this point. It's funny, right? Okay, going to carry on through. Rich Buddy. Also, I didn't say hi to you, Rich Buddy. Great having you here. Nice having you on the show. Hope you're enjoying the selection. Okay, so if I'm not wrong, this is a titanium snowflake. But again, this watch epitomizes the brand so well because they really do approach everything from the dial details, from the use of the batons on it, the handsets, the power reserve, just the texture. Stunning. But maybe turn it around and have a closer look. See what I mean about Grand Seikos? We've got quite a few of them. I'm sure there are a few more on the show if I'm not wrong. Okay. Going to carry on through. Shot in the dark. Good to have you here. If you would like to get my attention again, tag me in the chat and I'll be able to see it really quickly because I struggle as it is to keep up with. I love how the comment section is becoming a war of cars. Yeah, it always does. I mean, whenever there's a discussion about cars, it just gets ballistic. It's just the way it is. Okay, another shot. I think I screen grabbed this too, but I mean, just look at this. Another shot of the snowflake, but we get to appreciate the texture, the seconds hand, the reflections, how the light plays on the dial. They're phenomenal. The watches sent in today are just the best I've ever seen for this show. Absolutely, without question. The variety is just on point. Yeah, so all of you who have, talking about Fords and Toyotas and Mazdas and oh my soul. Okay, I'm just going to keep presenting. This is what I kind of love because I don't have to refer to the chat too much. I can just chat over myself. Johnny Boy saying it's a cool photo. Yeah, it really is. It really does pick up all the details you want to see. Does this have an anti-reflective coating on the crystal? I don't know. But really does look good. And the beautiful dial spoiled by the power reserve, in my opinion. I think what kind of breaks up, you're very right in saying that, by the way. What kind of breaks it up is the transition between the soft snowflake, the soft snow effect, the soft snow effect, and how we suddenly jump to this hard cut out element. They could have rounded off the edges, made it a bit smoother as a transition, or even better, if they had actually incorporated the snow effect into the power reserve itself instead of just the typical rounded off, cut that we see here. Still, it does break up the watch a bit more. There's a snot. Thanks, Chili Badger. It does break up the dial a bit, gives it a bit more vibrance in a way. It kind of gives you that Breguet-esque asymmetry. Okay, another shot from Jack. Another shot of the snowflake on. Gorgeous. I feel like the photo that he first sent in was actually this piece, this snowflake, not rose gold. I don't know. But again, we get to appreciate the texture on the dial and everything. Grand Seiko show. It's nice to see. Guys talking about Corvettes and Mercedes-Benz. Oh no, what have I done? Tongue twister, Robert. Yeah, I do that. I trip over myself at times. It's great. Mark P, I don't know. Did Mark pick up a watch? And Russell, at least Russell, who owns a 996 by his name, but also owns an F430, which I believe is one of the greatest Ferraris ever made. It's a Scuderia. I'm pretty sure it's a Scuderia. Hey, Russell. He's talking about watches, which is nice. The dial is a thing of beauty, he says. Seiko soft dive. It's funny. Strap matches the freckles. Yeah, absolutely does. So, great looking pieces. And thank you for sending these all in, Jack. And now we're jumping to James. We've got Jack, Jason, James. And I think we're going to be seeing a Jason just now. Yeah, cool. In a completely different direction, we're jumping to a Breitling Chronomat reference. See how this rolls off the tongue. A13047 from 1999. And if I'm not wrong, if I remember his email, he said this was one of the first watches he ever bought for himself. And in a way, I kind of like it. It gives off that nautical theme with the way that the bezel has been set and arranged. I have a Mickey Mouse watch, Mr. Vintage. It's funny. And yeah, I'm just catching a in the chat. Everyone's just bantering away about cars. And saw a Stingray the other day. Yeah, we watch guy. Corvette Stingrays, something to behold, must say. Especially the first model. The later generations, I don't think. Actually, the second generation was quite special too. But the first generation, the original with the hidden headlights, gorgeous. 1999, ready for the end of the world, for sure, Matthew. So this piece, it definitely looks like a watch of its time. You can see the tritium has actually faded very nicely around the dial itself. It doesn't say anywhere that it's tritium, but looks like it's aged pretty decently. And the bezel is what's peculiar. And if Russell is in the chat, what is great is that the watch that he submitted as the real cornerstone piece for the show, I would say, because we're talking about summer solstice, has a bezel almost exactly like this. And it was also produced, I think it was produced in like 96 or something, right, Russell? Your UN that you sent in? Okay, so yeah, all the little details, I think it's very special, interesting looking piece. And Megan's saying, happy to put my car on the track against the F430. Yeah, I mean, the one thing about Ferrari, they do make some amazing performing cars, but then I actually loved that car versus watch video, because I said that Patek and Ferrari work so well together as two companies that really celebrate the passion when it comes to watchmaking and automotive. You know, the perfect sounding minute repeater, the perfect sounding exhaust. I feel like Megan also has a Porsche, a 911 of some kind, if I remember right. And I have a 1968 Beetle. What can I say? I enjoy the classics. And maintenance is a nightmare. Yeah, Rob, that's something else I mentioned too. Okay. So thank you for this, James, for the Breitling Chronomat. Nice seeing such a peculiar looking watch for a change. And now we're going to jump to, I think this is also from a different James. Is this the same James or a different one? White arm hair. This could be the same James. Oris 65 bronze. I made a video discussing why bronze watches are so enjoyed and appreciated. And two-tone, you get to appreciate the idea of the color scheme. And what's amazing is actually, excuse me, I'm tripping over my own words here. We're going to be seeing another bronze version that actually has been worn over time, and you get to enjoy how these two watches patina over time. People asking, have I seen the Bugatti watch with moving engine parts? I'm sure I have. There's some crazy conceptual pieces out there. Okay. I'm going to carry on through. I don't know if Megan has mentioned her car. I think she might be embarrassed to mention just a crazy 911 GT3. Yeah, so I'm going to carry on through. What this watch does well, I still prefer the original 65 with the gorgeous numerals, but the batons and everything are really clear. It's nice to see a dial that actually has the date at the base of it, which is cool. Jacob & Co. Is that the Bugatti watch? So everything. The finishing is great. The use of color is interesting. But then, oh my, I've just noticed this now. The bezel looks pretty clean, looks pretty crisp. Then you get down to the bracelet itself, and it looks like leather at this point. The bronze has really started to show its age. And I think it was either James or whoever sent, you'll see it just now, another one of these, saying that it's such an excellent everyday wearing watch because it has so much character to it. And that's really the underlying theme when it comes to talking about bronze watches and why people love them so much. Yeah, they're still talking about cars. Cars. Case shape is greater than case size, as Christian says. Don't know what you mean there. We're talking about just the smoothness of it or the thickness. I don't know. But it is nice. I mean, they've really hit the nail on the head. This was one of the first watches featured in the reissue watch series that I did, reissue dive watches, and said that they've really managed to tackle this well and address many things that people wanted to see. Smaller sized case, nice bracelets, and all of those details. Anyway, I'm getting carried away. Oh, this is awesome. This is from a different James again, I think. So this is Woody the Golden, and he's rocking a root beer on what I'd like to say a Zulu strap by the texture. We've talked about dogs and watches before. Sadly, I wouldn't be able to contribute. I would also have two Goldens on the show. But yeah, what a gorgeous animal. Woody the Goldie. Taycan is sweet. Porsche 911 GT2 RS. Oh my, Megan, don't get me started with cars. Hope to drive it one day. That'd be so much fun. The best I've driven is an R8 V10 manual. That was so great. That was so much fun. Yeah, I have a history with cars, but definitely don't want to talk about cars because the show will just become a mess, as generally is the case. As we've seen already, the conversation is going nuts. And let's talk about a lot of copper with bronze. It's actually great that we're seeing this right next to the bronze watch. I mean, the root beer is quite a unique beast. When we have this gorgeous dial, this caramel dashed with custard caramel effect. It's definitely an enthusiast's watch, you know what I mean? And yeah, little boy sitting in the background is great. I mean, I love dogs. Dogs are just life. Dogs are everything. So it's nice seeing we've got a vintage Rolex. I think this is one of the first we've seen. This is really what we would classify as vintage Rolex at this point. I don't know if this dial has been, what do we say, a redial or a new dial. Dog is greater than the watch, flip and zipper. Yeah, always. I mean, you can't beat a dog at the end of the day. And I don't mean that physically. I mean beating as in a competition. Yeah, it's great. Nice looking piece. It's so nice seeing such variety, as always. That's how these shows go. And yeah, Tom is saying stunning root beer. For him saying the best color for a Porsche is crayon. The best color for a Porsche is either Glacier Blau. I think that's gorgeous. Or it's a beautiful green. I cannot remember what the green is called. But it's very much like a blue-green hue. If it was me, you know, there's a couple of colors I would choose. Service dial, as Eric says. I think it is definitely a service dial, service hands. Okay, going to carry on through now. Thank you for this, James. I think we have seen, I don't know if this was your root beer, but we have seen a few of these before. James Conn saying it's a D serial root beer from 2005. Fantastic. So I feel like, did they transition away from tritium by this point? Somehow I feel like this piece is all original with the parts. If it is just a Swiss only dial, I don't know. Okay, going to carry on. Jason, the contributor to the beginning of the show with his gorgeous high beat, also sent in a 9F Grand Seiko, and he picked this up this week. The reference, another tongue twister, SBGX 261. Yeah, I like them apples. Another watch. I mean, it almost feels like a Presage in a way. It definitely just screams the Seiko brand with the way that the case is done, the dial is arranged, the handset, everything else around there. Now guys are talking about car colors and everything else. Miami blue, and we could talk about cars for ages. I also love brown. I think brown on a car is something special. I had a lecturer who bought a Porsche 912, straight from California. If you want a great vintage car, get it from a desert. That's the best advice I can give anyone. If you can find a car, like a barn find in a desert, you're in good shape. No rust. You don't have to worry about it. So he got this car straight from California, and he rebuilt the engine, and it has this amazing, stock caramel brown color to it. And I think it's just so exciting. Clive saying, sent you a vintage GMT pick now. Thank you, Clive. I'll be sure to save them for the next show we have in a week or two. I like eating dogs. Yeah, for sure, Mr. Vintage. So, Jason, thank you for sending these in, as always. I think you picked up this watch this week as well, and you just decided to share it with all of us. Next, we get to Juan. Juan, our man Juan, who always sends in the most gorgeous pieces, vintage, modern, everything. He has such good taste. If you don't know, if this is your first time joining, he loves sending in vintage Hamiltons. That's his bread and butter. He has a super collection. And this is a 1971 Hamilton chronograph with a Valjoux 7732, very much like Cedar Canoe's watches that we saw earlier. And this is not a reissue, folks. This is an original, and you can tell by the tritium how it's faded. It's a Swiss only. It's beautiful serifs on the numerals on the dial, or should I say the numerals on the calendar. Racing strap, as it should be. And so it doesn't use, I feel like the Hamilton also had a similar caliber 11 style movement with the pushers the one way and the crown the other. You did send in one before in the past, if I remember, Juan. But this is very true to form. I mean, it's great. It really is crisp and clear. Still chatting about cars, I'm sure. Let's see what else is going on. Oh, geez, Megan talking about restored RSR. Please, this is not the place for that, Megan. Please, we're taking the discussion in the completely different direction. What color is it? Please tell me. Please tell me it's green. Green with orange RS on the side of the doors. Mouth-watering. Actually, I think your dad has shared the photo with me before. It's either orange, yellow, or green. Spitball it there. Talking about E-type Jags now. Oh, God. You guys are great. Talking about cars. It's a mess. Okay, I'm going to carry on through. Juan sent in a whole load of pieces here. Next up, he sent in a Black Bay 58 on a RAF styled NATO strap, which is very appropriate. We've seen a couple of these already. Dear Artifact sent in one, but this feels more true to form, since it is playing on the whole Connery-inspired 6538 Big Crown sub. This definitely is as close as one can get with the modern Tudor range, for sure. Willie's strap, as Eric says, yeah, for sure. I love that story. Just how it wasn't a NATO strap, wasn't anything back, it was just a nylon strap picked up at Woolworths when Woolworths was a thing in the UK back in the day. It's great. So yeah, nice combination. You can never go wrong with the RAF colors. I think there's something so unique about it, because from a distance, this lighting is probably not the best, but from a distance, generally, if you get the right strap, you can barely make out the stripes. And only when you get closer do you start seeing the smaller details. And there's a really nice play with the lighting there. Okay, I'm gonna have a hit of the coffee. Still going on the same coffee. Maybe time for a car show next for him. It's great to have you here still, for him. No, I don't think so. I think it'll be a mess. Sharing your watch with your car, that could be something cool, I guess. But it's pretentious enough that we're sharing these hardcore pieces. I think with cars, it's just stupidly showing off. You know what I mean? Okay, I'm going to carry on through. So let's carry on with Juan. This I loved. So we actually spoke about date justs this week. The question of whether or not the date just is becoming obsolete when we look at things like what the market is asking for and what the watch needs to be put through and how it holds up. And I think this combination is pretty stellar. It looks, and the lighting as well, the fact that you get the lume. And for him asking, when will I do a face reveal? I don't know. I mean, you've seen my face, for him. We've hung out before. I really don't know. Maybe when we hit something like 100,000 subscribers, we could do something cool like that. I would love for this channel to just expand more and more, keep the underlying tone of industrial design and watches going, but then having full-on hands-on with film crew and all of that as well. Having me sitting behind a desk and presenting will be a lot of fun as well. But the anonymity is great because it allows for no polarization. No one is, the community as it is very divided. I definitely don't want it to be an ego show. I think that's something we could actually talk about for a sec. There's already so many people, and I say people on the platform, I mean actual faces and presence. 90% of the time you see their faces on the page, and it bugs me. It really bugs me, man. I'm interested in the watches. That's what I've always been here for. I'm not interested in the person so much. And I like the content to speak for itself with regards to the work. I don't want the person to be the one involved. If you know what I mean. It might not make much sense, but and there's mention about me presenting my face, more people would follow for sure. It'll be more relatable, absolutely. But on the flip side, I don't need to worry about what I'm wearing, what my hair looks like, all of that rubbish. I enjoy the fact that it's just a not simple, basic watches only, topical discussions around design, and that's it. I'm sure it's going to happen though. I mean, as this channel grows, I'm sure it'll change. I definitely don't have a face for radio, which is pretty funny. I'm definitely not the Hunchback of Notre Dame, but as it is, I just don't think it's necessary, really. That's the honest truth. Okay, there's lots of chats going on about Breitlings and Nissans, and Dioratovec saying, if this channel becomes a full-on network, count me in, you'll have me. And that's it. I mean, if it does grow into a full-on platform, I mean, having film and all of that as a community-driven thing, that'd be fantastic. All I need to wear is a dress shirt and shorts. No, underpants. I don't need to wear shorts. We watch guy. What are you talking about? Just need to wear some kind of underpants and I'm done. Such a gorgeous shot from Juan. I love the blue. He's managed to capture the lighting just right, as he always does. And this combination too, fluted bezel, Jubilee bracelet, stunning. And then he sends in a few more shots of it outside. We get to enjoy some palm leaves. And this watch really is a classic. Also something I didn't even notice. Notice the numerals on the batons. I didn't see this at first. The numerals representing the individual minutes. Very practical. Great. Bowling shirt, boxes. What's him saying? Bowling around in boxes and a vest. Yeah. That's funny. IDGuy telling us he is a good looking. He'll distract us from why he's going to. Yeah, Triforce. I don't want to toot my own horn there, but I'll leave it at that. Don't worry about it. NATO, great having you on the show. Carassus, for you know, it could be pantless at the moment. I'm not going to divulge information. You might be right. It might be wrong. It's great. These shows are always great. I really enjoy them. You guys, just so much fun. Okay, so I'm going to carry on with Juan, as we do. Next is a Wittenauer chronograph with a what's it, a 3256 Langeron. What the hell? Langeron 14814Y. Juan, that sounds like hieroglyphs to me. If you could explain that. Marcello arriving late, absolutely no problem. There's a lot that's been going on. We've had a great time on the show so far. There's a lot to catch up on, but don't worry, the variety is still here. There's so much that we're going to be looking at. Mark P saying he loved his Spitfire. Mark, did you actually fly a Spitfire back in the day? That is incredible. Spitfires are just the most amazing planes. Speaking of which, next week we're going to be looking at Air Ministry, and Smith's clocks were actually put inside Spitfires, which is amazing, bit of history. Wittenauer chronograph. It's a beautiful looking thing. And I would imagine, I don't think he gave me the date, but I would imagine this is a 40s inspired piece. Why do I say that? When we jump to the dial and we see a telemeter scale, you can almost guarantee that it was a watch built around that time, because chronographs were very important to calculate the speed of sound and how far the object was flying at you from. So you find the telemeters are very prominent around then. And essentially you see the flash or you see the smoke in the distance, start the chronograph, and you can judge as the projectile flies over your head just how far away the round is coming from. I mean, it's great. It's very practical. It's also just ludicrous when you think about it. Eh? I mean, those times, those days. And something that I really hit on hard that I want everyone to take away from this exercise that I think is so important about 40s era watches. Oh, the Triumph Spitfire. Okay. What is, because I know Mark was a pilot back in the day, so I just put two and two together. Even back in a time when the world was in complete and utter turmoil, it was a complete mess. I think it's incredible to see just how beautiful these watches were still made, and the attention to detail with all of these things. It was such an art form even then. I mean, this was very much just a utility. With something like a telemeter scale, it's used as a tool. It's not used as anything very fashionable. But even still, look at it. It's gorgeous. And I hope to nail that, bring that home with the talk around the Air Ministry that I do next week with all of you. Early 50s at Whitnall. Thank you, Juan. So I got it a bit wrong there. Maybe they're just reusing the old dials. Who knows? But it's great. And telemeters is also good to time thunderstorms. Sure thing, BDev. I mean, that's fantastic. I mean, telemeter scales are very practical. I have seen before a telemeter, a pulsometer, and a tachymeter, I think, in one cluster. And that's amazing. Long twisted lugs as well. Nicely said, Amin. Okay, going to carry on through. We've been doing this for so long already. This is the first Submariner on the show, is it? It can't be. But I love, this is the irony and the joke behind this. You'll see it in a second. Shane saying, never heard of such a scale. Yeah, telemeter as in tele for sound. Pulsometer for pulsations. I love it. I mean, chronographs are incredible instruments. Not information I hope to ever need. Yeah, for sure. I don't know if you're talking about this. So this is our first Submariner, I think. And it's a 114060, as we would expect to see. I feel like this is a new watch that you just picked up. I don't know. There's a couple of new watches that have been featured on the show. But we are going to look, what's hilarious is that JW sends this watch in, and Mark P saying, I am old, but only 53 was a car. Now I feel really old. No, I mean, what's to say that the military the RAF didn't have surplus planes? I mean, they still have reconditioned planes that people fly around in. Funnily, just during, Remembrance Day recently, the Spitfire flew right over my house. It was amazing. I was actually suntanning outside and the Spitfire flew over and it was incredible. Had RAF colors on it, amazing. Okay, gonna scroll and see Triforce saying Chip Wong bought at Lambo. He's got his Rainbow Daytona. So we've chatted about Chip Wong and his Rainbow Daytonas. I'd like to do that in future, talk about it a bit more. It's great. I think it's fantastic. And 73 Math says, my Zoom murder mystery is now over. Got me a Rooibos. Fantastic. Rooibos, for those of you who don't know, Red Bush, South African. I don't know if it's only native to South Africa or if it's South Africa. It's not Cape Town specific. South African tea. If you enjoy tea, try Rooibos and thank me later. Okay, so tachymeter measuring tachiness, Giza. Fantastic. Great to have you here, Giza. I think you've just joined us. Okay, so what's hilarious? JW sends in this watch, right? Now we transition from J to K on the alphabetical list, and Carassus sends in a 140, the same watch, exact same watch, calling it his daily piece, and his hound is in the background here. Didn't actually cut the dog in, but another exact same watch back to back, which I find absolutely hilarious. Now Carassus in the past has sent us. He has the trilogy. He has a Nautilus rose gold. He has a overseas, one of the first generation overseas. He has a Vacheron first gen. I think it's a first gen overseas that we've seen before. Did I say offshore? Sorry, an AP offshore, one of the originals, and a first gen overseas. And he says that this is his daily when the other watches just aren't appropriate. This is what he wears most often. And I mean, he does everything with it. It's his real beater, when he's running, walking, doing whatever, any garden work, whatever needs to be. And yeah, no date watches. I've made videos about no date watches before. I think there's something that you can really appreciate. And it's something that I believe everyone will eventually go back to. When you're in a hobby, the no date is something that's just so crisp and clear. It lets you appreciate time itself, the moment, not what's coming up in the next few weeks when you have a date complication offset. It's just clear, no abundance of superfluous information that you don't necessarily need. Yeah, Roy necks everywhere, Shane. That's hilarious. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, true, absolutely. And no one probably knows that expression, Roy necks, but I'm just going to leave it there. Okay, I'm going to carry on through. Thank you for this, Carassus. Next, we have a bit of a change of pace. Now, I don't know the story. This is one of the last photos I saved for the show. So this comes from Keith. It's a 2006 Tag Heuer Link with diamond indices. I didn't even know that this was a thing. I don't know if this is aftermarket or if this is how it was made, but I've never understood how this bracelet works and what Tag was thinking when they did this. This feels like something so 90s, you know what I mean? Roy is red. Thank you, Ryan. You've botched that one for us all, so now everyone knows. Least not a soti, Eric Bell. So great. A lot of you guys know the nomenclature around. Link named for the bracelet. Thank you, BDev. Okay, that makes more sense because the Link bracelet is just so peculiar. I don't know how best to describe it. It's something like out of the future, but you just don't know. Does it look dated? Who knows? But let's talk about the diamond indices. I mean, what do you think? A sports watch, 200 meters with diamond indices all around it. I can honestly say I've never seen this combination before, but this is fantastic. Shane, you grew up in SA. Thank you for that. I think you have mentioned that to me before. This is the only link that Archie never pinched. Yeah, I mean, it's quite, I don't know what you would call it. I don't want to say eyesore, but it's very strange. I mean, some brands have really nailed the bracelets. Others look old-fashioned, odd. Yeah, I mean, so Neferion, I'm going to botch your name every time. H.R. Geiger designed the bracelet. Is that so? It looks like, maybe, who knows? Yeah, the diamond indices, quite bold in a different take. Speaking of bold, the next watch that he sends in is a Boulder. Boulder Titanium. What a great shot. We get to appreciate the American-style field watch once again. So this is called the Boulder Titanium Venture. We've actually featured this watch on the show before, maybe. I don't know. Something similar. Might have featured this exact watch before. But yeah, we're talking about dogs and everything else. Need to catch up with Megan saying, on the couch, my Paris apartment, dad's dog, in the building you just finished. Yeah, it's incredible. You've done such amazing work. I mean, James has sent me some photos of the property, and it's restoring buildings in Paris. I can just imagine the interiors are just absolutely incredible. I love the windows in Paris buildings. You get so much light in. Eric Bell's saying roadie, as in, yeah, my parents' roadie. Yeah, there's probably a lot of roadies on the show too. Okay. So what I like about this photo in particular is that we get to appreciate the matte texture on the dial and how it corresponds with the matte of the titanium on the case. Very unique. A great use of lighting here. The orange highlight is very nice. It's almost like a transition between 70s integrated bracelet sports watch as well as a field watch. Even with the needle hands, I mean, this is taken almost directly from Benrus models, we could say. From the Vietnam era, 60s, early 70s, and beyond. I really like the typeface as well. I think it's very true to what the time period it's representing, especially when you look at something like the 9 and the 12. It does definitely have a tie to that time period in a way, you know what I mean? Great looking piece, and thank you for this, Keith. Next, we're looking at Chrono Craze, and let me try and find the best shot. So next up, we have a Maurice Lacroix masterpiece. Here we go. Masterpiece, Master Chrono. God, these names, can they make them any longer? What a unique set of elements on this watch. And again, we just jump to something so peculiar and strange, and that's just what makes it so fun. He sends in a few great shots of this watch that we can really enjoy. And yeah, primitive 20th century brain cannot comprehend Megan's last statement. Should I try and look for it? I don't know. Private plane, convertible. Yeah, we don't have to talk about private planes and everything else. That's just pure vulgarity. It's great. I mean, I'm actually able to just talk to myself. The chats are simmering down in a way, so those numbers are certainly cut for sure. And that's one thing that just picked me up immediately is just how it's been approached. You don't see this often. Look at the 10 and the 8 and the 7, the 11. This is also fascinating. I want to understand a bit more about how this divide works. It's such a brilliant execution, actually. Let me just look at this dial. So we have 12-hour, we have running minutes, 30 minutes, and then we have the running hour track on the side here. I would love for this to be something like the running minutes, don't you think? I really enjoy it. I love the combination. Looks like someone's leaving us. N something's leaving. Thank you for joining us. Thanks for being a part of the show. Love to see some more shots from you, N something. Your pieces are just stunning. Absolutely stunning. We have actually reviewed his collection. Have a look on my channel or have a look on Google. NS something review. He showed what? I'm trying to remember. Tudor Pelagos, 3 JLCs and 2 Mosers. Such an elegant collection where the sports watch is not the focus for a change. The dress watches take center stage. So thank you, N something, for being a part of the show and collaborating and contributing. Avant-garde, Juan Luis says, I fully believe it to be. I mean, the way the dial has been arranged, the typeface, everything does seem to have that same kind of allure. There's some more shots he's taken too of the clasp, which is nice. I mean, we get to see it in a bit more detail here. Great shot. I mean, nice atmosphere, nice mood. You know what I mean? And also just details like how the engraving has been worked on the case, on the clasp itself, the accentuated M, which is nice and clean. Beautiful leather as well. And then we jump to, I'm trying to remember what the details, as a masterpiece watch, I don't know what it's made from, if it's gold, if it's steel. Great movement. We get to enjoy this. We get to see the regulator hand here, which is always nice. I love seeing that little gauge. Gorgeous looking perpetual motion, what would you call it? Counterbalance rotor weight. Looks stunning. And I don't know how many jewels is in this movement, but overall you've got heat blued screws. You've got lots of jewels, I would imagine. Maybe in the realm of about 30. And just on the wrist, you get to see the case a bit better. Check how it's been cut. Interesting. So there's almost like a lip that's shared between the lugs. The lugs are actually separate to the case body itself. That's very unique. And I just love this effect of having the subdial have a real focused element. This feels more like, hold on a second, I'm sure I botched this. This is your running seconds. Geez, I'm a moron. This is your running seconds dial. And there's your 30 minutes and there's your hour. Makes more sense, no? I'm just going to catch up with you in the chat. Again, I get so into the details of watches, I miss a lot of things. 73 Math says, I agree about N something's collection. Yeah, it's great. Really is nice. Highly recommend you check it out because you can appreciate his love for JLC especially. The common person would probably think, nah, they're all the same. They all look the same. But he has, what is it? A geophysic. He has that gorgeous, what's it called? I'm at a loss for words. Gorgeous two-tone dial with that beautiful brush finishing. I don't know. He's got a nice set of pieces though. I highly recommend you have a look at them. Okay, so the chat is nice and slow. I'm enjoying this. So Robert's saying, wait till you see my brand new 300, Omega 300 after a month on the boat. You'll probably cringe. Oh, is that so? Omega 300 as in the ceramic, or are we talking 57, or are we talking Seamaster Professional? Okay, so yeah, gorgeous watch. I do really enjoy the way the case has been done too. And I love this element. I think being able to focus more on, I mean, if all the subdials were arranged this way with this almost, what would you say, cover of some kind, you would have such a more focused understanding of what you're looking at a glance, which I think is pretty interesting. Also nice counterbalance to the detail on the right-hand side with the logo and the day date and some more detail there. I've just noticed something too. This is a sandwich dial. How cool is that? This is actually all cut. So this dial is its own beast. It's actually floating. You can see that the depth and texture between the 2 and the 1. Very interesting. There's lots of little quirks and details about this that makes you think. Like the stepping between the tachymeter and the minute track that runs around. Oh, cool looking watch. I really like the combination of elements. Very strange, unique that way. Okay, next we have submission from Lee, and he sends in a seagull, and I knew I missed one watch that was sent in. Let me rotate the sucker. So this is a new watch. I think he just picked it up recently, and he said it's like the best $100 or $200 you can spend on a piece because these Seagull 1963s, they're great movements. I mean, no kidding, they're amazing. They work so well. Chip Gauge, have you just, oh geez, absolute pleasure, Chip. if this is true about the Rainbow Daytonas and the Lamborghini, props to you, man. It is amazing. I think it's such a nice combination. I don't know if I mentioned what I like so much about the idea of the Rainbow Daytona. We spoke about it on my last show. It should be quite close up on the recommended list. It says choosing your next watch and what to look out for. I said that the Rainbow Daytona, in a way, talks to your childhood. The beauty of all the different colors arranged in that rainbow effect. And that's, when you open up that fresh pack of Crayola or just crayons or pastels or whatever, and you see that composition, I mean, to me, it speaks to childhood. I think it's something that we've all enjoyed as we grew up. And yeah, it's great. Congratulations. I think as a one set collection of watches, it's pretty cool. So yeah, thank you so much for the super chat, Chip. You guys, all of you have contributed and sent in. I can't thank you enough, really. I'm so humbled to be doing this. Really, Clive saying, run for your lives. This watch has gone viral. So yeah, apparently they have, because people really underestimate the seagull movement. It's still based on, I'd like to know more about it actually and what it was based from exactly. But it's based on a 1963 movement that basically copied a Swiss movement as it is. But they're so robust. They're so versatile, which is hilarious. And funnily enough, this is not the only seagull chronograph that we're going to see. A Venus 175. Thanks, Clive. So it's based on a Venus movement, and yeah, the quality for what you're getting, again, you're paying like $200. You're getting a really useful chronograph that does a good job. But then again, exhibition case back, yeah, for sure. Did you mean that as a joke, viral watch? No, I mean, I feel like these watches are catching on. I feel, okay, got it. That's a low blow. No, I meant as a fact that people are really catching on to the seagull movements, just because they're easy to buy and easy to use, and you can chuck them about without a care in the world. Going viral. Yes, you guys are the worst. You guys are the worst. See, because I'm behind the screen doing all the presentation, I'm not thinking on the fly. But that was good. That was really quite sharp. Seagull 63 is a great watch, a real workhorse, Megan. Absolutely, on sale at the moment. They're all over the show. They're about $200 US. Yeah. And a Russian flag on it. Yeah. I mean, go communism, right? Blued hands. I don't know if they're heat blued. Anyway, we're going to carry on moving through. Thank you for this, Lee. We will be seeing another one of these in a second. And now we have another micro brand of a watch that seems to also has gone viral recently. And that's Laurier. This is the Laurier Neptune V3, which, I mean, takes its inspiration from watches like, I mean, I see Big Crown Submariner. It's definitely playing on cues of the vintage, 50s era pieces. I really do enjoy the triangles at the quarters, which is nice. Reminds me of watches like, I don't know, bathyscaphs, or what's another good example? I think of my Omega maybe, but just watches of that time, 60s transitional period. So if I'm not wrong, this is a micro brand. I don't know if it's American based. Or if it's Swiss. It's a Swiss movement, I'm pretty sure. Are these golf balls? Yes, these are most definitely golf balls. Pretty sure. See, I know my sports. Yeah, so nice looking composition. I also just enjoy that it's clean and symmetrical, clear looking. And now I'm going to jump back into the chats. There's some more great pieces coming up in a second. It's great, the variety just in this section. We basically have about 25 more pieces or so, maybe around there, and the variety is still fantastic. We're going to see everything from high end to entry level to basic. Put this on brown leather, it'll be great. So Megan says Laurier is an amazing retro diver micro brand made in small production from, yeah, they always sell out. Great to hear. And this being a V3, I'd imagine they've done lots of improvements. I don't know if it's not a Miyota. I feel like this is an ETA. Sad thing about ETAs is they are now becoming impossible to source, which is pretty crazy. Put this on brown leather, as Ryan says. I think it would look great. Really would look great. 73 MAF, talking about watches. I don't know. Yeah, it's a great looking piece. I do like the composition. Also enjoy the fact that it has not only what you would say a broad arrow hour hand, but a pointed arrow for the seconds, triangular plots. There is a great correspondence of elements on the dial. What would make it more effective, I think, just looking at it in its entirety, isn't this the call sign for a sergeant in the military? Someone can maybe clarify that to me. I think what would make it even better is to get rid of the rounded plots and just go full hog with the triangles on the dial instead. The rounded plots, I don't know, just feel a bit too generic. And if I go back to the Seamaster, you'll see what I mean. I think that the 57 really hit it out of the park. Those dials from back in the day. Okay, anyway, thank you for this, Moser, sending in a Laurier. Next, we're looking at Matt. And I love this story because Matt is 16 years old. He bought this with his first paycheck, basically. I think I remember the story. And he's a watch enthusiast at 16. And I can honestly say, when I was 16, watches were not even on my radar yet. I mean, I was doing everything but watches then, you know. When I think of what I was doing when I was 16, it's pretty... There's 3 chevrons. Thank you, Jimmy. So I was right. That's great to know. I'm going to scroll up and catch up with you all in the chat. I've missed a few of you. It's great that you guys are all just communicating between each other. How much does it cost, Ryan? I would imagine that the Laurier is probably about $500 to $1,000 range, roughly. So yeah, I must say, that's my watch. Matt, we're in the chat. Fantastic. So it's pretty special. So this is a Heuer Grand Carrera 43 mil. Pretty impressive that you can rock a 43 millimeter piece using a caliber 17. Thank you for that. And I mean, again, 16-year-old interested in the hobby. This is what makes it special. You know, I am, how old am I now? I'm 26, 10 years. And I've only been into watches really from about 19, maybe 20. I only started buying watches when I was in my early 20s. So when you're getting into the hobby this young, you're going to learn so much. And I think it's fantastic because what is great, what's actually superb is that being so young, getting into this hobby, you can learn so much more about what works, what doesn't work, what you should look out for. Shane's saying I'm only 26. Yeah, I am. I'm only 26. Is that a shock to a lot of you? Yeah, I'm only 26. I think I'm 27 this year. Yeah, November. Being 16 and getting into watches now is fantastic because you can learn so much about the hobby. So just a show like this, you learn so much. I'm joking. Yeah, Art, I'm totally joking about my age. I'm actually 86. Yeah, and this piece in general, I really enjoy how they've done the subdial. That's what makes it so unique here. The rotating subdial within the dial itself. It's great. I mean, it's got a great expression to it, you know. It's cartoonish in a way. It has a set of eyes to it. And Heuer as a brand, when it comes to chronographs, it's pretty impressive. So anyone who gets into this hobby and starts at such a young age, props to you because you're going to learn so much in such a short period of time. I hope this channel helps you a little bit on your growing. I'm definitely growing and learning about watches while I do this. I've only been in the hobby for like, 5-6 years at this point. But it's fantastic. I mean, congratulations. And really enjoy your teenage years. Your body can take so much. Between 18 and 21, balls to the wall. Enjoy yourself. Have a great time. That's all I can say. Moving on. Thank you for this, Matt. Going to jump to Matt 73 MAF or 73 MAF, who's in the chat. Oh, yes. So Matt has a great taste in watches. And I think the ones that we've seen so far from him are the Zenith and a Datejust. I can't remember. But the Zenith El Primero is the one that sticks to my mind. Funnily enough, this isn't the first Black Bay 58 on a NATO that we've seen. But what a combination. This is a fantastic. I think that the strap to me sings the most because I'm sure most of us can tell it corresponds so nicely with the gold and the gilt of the hands, of the bezel, of the minute track. It's phenomenal. It's such a nice combination. I don't know if this is a Tudor branded strap, but this watch is just, as Jimmy said, it's just a perfect watch. It's so practical. It really is so practical. It's, if you want to get into the hobby and get out at the same time, this watch will do it for you. I mean, really, it's a one and done. What I love is what I tried to talk about in the car, and no, it wasn't. I did a video about are watches worth their price, and I said that Tudor, Rolex, Omega, all of these brands sit in such a place where you can enjoy, just enjoy the fact that you're buying something that's worthwhile. Great amount of money you're spending on it, but at the same time, you get a lot of value for the watch itself. You know what I mean? And anyone wants to talk about hangovers? I love it. Flip and Zipper, remember not getting hangovers. Yeah, there are ways to beat them though, Flip and Zipper. I've learned over time. The trick is to practice. The trick is to experience is the fruit of life. And there are ways to get yourself out of hangovers. But sure, when I think 18 to 21, what a time. What a time. Balls to the wall, Ryan. Yeah, for sure. Doesn't have to have innuendo connotations. Yeah, Russell's saying great combo. It really is a great combo. It looks stunning. Really looks good. And the shot itself, I mean, you get to just enjoy the lighting and the way everything's been arranged, the matte finish on the dial, the effect of the light on the domed crystal, or should I say boxed crystal. It's great. We've seen a lot of Tudors on the show already. Okay, next, the trick is to practice. Keep getting drunk until the hangovers stop. We watch guy, absolutely. I mean, that's one way to approach it for sure. Thank you for this, 73 Math. If you're in the chat still, there you are. 58 is still a hot model according to my AD. It's ridiculous. I went into, actually quite recently, I think around November last year, went into about 3 different stores that either sold Rolexes and Tudors together or separately, and all of them out of stock of 58s. It's a laugh. I think it's just so how demand rises up. Can I give you Austin Daniels' phone number, Clive? Austin's great. I love watching his videos. He has a lot of. I mean, he's just the kind of guy you could sit and have a chat with. You know, Art Mallory saying best hangover cure: avocado on toast. Anything full fat for a breakfast will do it for you. Anything that's highly saturated in fat, you're going to do a good job. But the big secret that I've learned, at least my cure, drink a liter of water before bed. You know, the whole Krebs cycle story is so true. Even if you've had the worst night out, drink at least a liter of water before bed. Force yourself if have to, because alcohol also dehydrates you, and you'll feel so good the next day. That's just a hat tip that at least that works for me. But avoid hangover, stay drunk. Well, H2O, yeah, H2O is the secret. Okay, so this piece, let me try and get this right. So Michael sends in a 96 CMOS Professional. The story is that his dad fell in love with the James Bond. The dehydration kills you. Thank you, Johnny. You'll piss the bed. Yeah, well, I mean, if you empty your bladder before finishing the water, 73 Math, that's the idea. So 96 CMOS Professional. The story is that Michael's dad loved the Brosnan era James Bond piece, but he didn't like the quartz movement. And if I'm not wrong, this variant that came out with the polished bezel had an automatic movement. And this is what he's gravitated towards. And the story goes that his dad gave this watch to Michael. I don't know if this was his first watch that he given as a graduation gift. So that's pretty special. And he's just been wearing it ever since. And I think it's incredible. I mean, this watch is still pretty timeless. I love the dial. If it was me, I would probably swap out the bezel, or at least have a replacement of like a black bezel, just to add a bit of touch to it. But then you want the faded effect on this. Just notice how everything's peeled off over time. I think this was all originally white or gray inside all of these plots around the dial itself. Pretty amazing how a watch ages. 1996, quite a while back. So Mark P says, 26, at that age, I was leading a seriously good military team in Hong Kong, but I could not do what you do now. That's so. Well, I mean, talk about stories. We've got a captain who's actually sent in his Submariner that we'll be seeing just now. And this guy, I checked him out, and this guy has had quite a story. I want to share his story with some of you. But the stud saying, you're hardcore, church is over and you're still going. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's just how we do it. So it's awesome. I mean, I love seeing these professionals. As I said earlier, this is technically the Brosnan era watch. Just after the first film, I think GoldenEye was in 95, 93. I think it was in 93. Just afterwards, we started transitioning to automatic movements. And yeah, in general, great looking piece. I don't know if this is the same Michael. No, it's not. Different Michael with a Seiko Save the Ocean Samurai. And Save the Ocean generally, we see blue. Blue is the accent always used. And it just looks great. I think the texture on the dial is fantastic. Again, like I said, there's going to be a lot of Seikos on the show, and it seems like that's been the common trend running through. Pretty amazing. Time to watch Ford vs. Ferrari. B-Dev, enjoy it. It's an awesome film. And if you can get your hands on a Shelby Cobra, it's a nice car. I've actually driven one of those before in the past. Yeah, so really cool piece. The Seiko Samurai, again, we can't see the hour hand here, but the best way to tell that you're wearing a Samurai is, or that you're seeing a Samurai, is the gorgeous broad arrow is used. And all of their dials in general are so unique. Light blues, dark blues, navies, transition from light to dark on the dial itself. It's just great. Also has a NATO strap, which corresponds nicely with the color scheme. Oops, can you believe we have another Bond Seamaster? Fix or repair only. Fix or repair daily. Yeah, I'll talk about Ford. Yeah, there's a few more. I think there's a good one for Alpha as well. Anyway, and there was mention from Robert, Captain. Yeah. Oh, Captain, my Captain. Thank you for sending this in, Michael. Jumping to Norman. We're actually about to approach the 3-hour mark. We've been running for 2 hours and 55 minutes, which is pretty decent. And yeah, we've still got a few more pieces to share. And trust me, you haven't seen the best yet. I saved Russell's pieces for last because the best really does deserve to be last. Fiat, fix it again, Tony. Yeah, that's good. I remember that one. So this is a Norman from a Seamaster from 95. I mean, how hilarious is that we've just transitioned from Michael to Norman, two guys who don't know each other, and these guys just both shared the same piece with us. It's hilarious, like the two Submariners we saw earlier, and all the Grand Seikos and everything. So the reference from 95, I think this combination really sings. Is this a quartz or is this an automatic? I feel like this is the quartz variant, and it's on a standard mesh bracelet, which is great. Notice how we've seen shark mesh used already with the ceramic Seamaster earlier, and how we're now seeing another one. It seems like the typical thing is to chuck the original bracelets and put the typical shark mesh on instead. It's a bit more clean, you know what I mean? Lotus, lots of trouble, usually serious. Love that, Russell. I remember that line as well. It's great. It's fantastic. The Seamaster looks good. Ryan, these were 41 millimeters back in the day. The 42s only came in with the modern ceramics. I think it kind of procedurally got bigger. So 41 and then 41 and a half and now 42, if I'm not wrong. Okay, moving on. I think this is also Norman. Yes, this is the same Norman. This is a great piece. This is really something stunning. He's got the original box and everything. So it is an Omega Geneve, 1975, mother's anniversary. So if I'm not wrong, so this was an anniversary gift that his mother gave to his father from 1975, I think. And I mean, just look at it. And it's a non-Seamaster, which is something we don't see. You know what I mean? Omega Geneve. I mean, when do we ever see this watch nowadays? That's one thing that kind of sucks about Omega is they put Seamaster on everything. And Seamaster was supposed to be something that you can take into the water, but I mean, half of the Seamasters that we see are dress watches and they just can't take water, you know? So this is great. I really like this combination. It definitely does sing about being a dress watch. And I just love the original box. They just did one thing I loved about the 57 that I got is the box. I mean, you got to enjoy the corduroy interior and all of those details. It's a beautiful watch. And I love the strap too. The strap could even be original to the piece for all I know. Also the vintage logo. Come on, Omega, make some more of these. Get this going again. Love it. Absolutely love it. So yeah, a real dress watch from the 70s. You can see it through and through. And there's more chats about Geneves. Let's see what else is going on here. Talking about Ford, Omega rules. Omega is an amazing brand. All master, no C, Shane. So I'm carrying on through with what's going on in the chat. I don't know, I'm missing a lot of you guys. Looks like my dad's watch from the 50s. And that's the thing. I mean, this watch definitely represents like the Constellation era. You can kind of see just where everything moves. But in the Constellation video, recommend you watch that. I might link this to the video later on, whatever. But spoke about the Globemaster and how the Constellation really developed. And you notice the sharp transition from the 50s to the 60s and just how the numerals changed, the handsets changed to a much more streamlined form. And this is smack dab in the middle there, where you see the batons are very basic, same with the pencil style, very thin hands. It's just so period correct to the late 60s, early 70s. And we watch guys saying, totally agree with the box, new 57s. Oh, it's one of my favorite elements, really. I think they just nailed the reissue series. All I'm saying is I don't want to drive up the hype for the watches, but I recommend you pick them up because they're incredible pieces. The movements are top tier. Like They're all 8806. They still use them in their latest watches. They're the best no-date movements that they make. You get so much joy out of it. I'm having such a good time with the watch. Okay, next. You won't believe what's coming up next, but we have another, yet another 114060. And Lange, large watch for the era. Must have been, for sure. I mean, the watch does look pretty big. Talking about its size, this could be about 36 millimeters. Pretty different. We don't normally see that size from that time, for sure. Okay, so we have another watch, another 114060. I think we've hit the trifecta. Now, our man, Captain Ori, who might be in the chat or not, this guy has quite an amazing history. So he's a paratrooper, and I have immense respect for paratroopers because my old man was a paratrooper. He was in the 3 Commando when he was in the 70s, in the SAS, the Rhodesian Light Infantry. I think he was there for about 7 years, did over 2,000 jumps, and now is regretting it because of his back and knees. That's something to remember. Anyway, so the story behind Captain Ori, I actually looked up Ori's background. And this man, he served 2 tours in Afghanistan. And he has basically every medal. I think he has like three bronze stars and all sorts. I just insane. His record is ridiculous. Don't want to share his full name and everything, but let's just say this man has quite a background. And he did also, I don't know if I've sent, I didn't share. He just bought this watch. That's the story. And he originally had, I'm trying to remember the pieces, 214270 Mark II Explorer. He sold off all his watches and he now only owns this piece, 114060. Just bought it recently. He just got married in this watch. He's had it engraved. I think he served from 2009 until 2020. I think he's just left the military now, or active service. And it's incredible. I mean, this watch, I've said to him, this is a watch that you can make all the memories with. He has it on a Tropic strap at the moment, which is fantastic. I'm sure he might be in the chat somewhere. But yeah, I just love it. I just love the story that goes in behind it. Jumping out of perfectly good airplanes. I mean, I'd be the same thing. I'm really not a fan of flying. And if I had the opportunity of jumping out of planes, I would totally do it. Yeah, and Shane, Silu Scouts. Yeah, I mean, it's amazing story. The Forgotten War, many people call it. Look up Rhodesian Bush War, and you can learn all about it. It was, as what's amazing is that it happened just after Vietnam, right? Just in that time period. And because my dad was in the Special Forces, he dealt with a lot of Vietnam vets who came across. And then these guys are freaking crazy. Can say that the best. Bloodlust, I think, is the easy way to describe them. And my dad was a medic, Casevac, so he dealt with these guys often. And yeah, over 2,000 jumps. Paratrooping is an amazing thing. When you hear stories about jumping out of planes at 40,000 feet with oxygen and everything, jumping out of Boeings and Dakotas, they did lots of low-level deployment too. What country used to be Rhodesia? Art Mallory asks. Zimbabwe. It's known as Zimbabwe nowadays. Yeah, wild times, crazy, the 70s. Funnily enough, there was an actual issued piece to the Rhodesian forces back then. I do want to look it up, but it's just one watch. My dad did tell me stories about guys who had GMT Rolexes back then. Speedmasters were also popular, believe it or not. And yeah, the guy, I mean, it's crazy. The history is amazing. Look it up. It was a really horrible, horrible war. That's all I can say. And it wasn't just fought in Rhodesia. It was all the way across to Mozambique. It was across to Namibia. It's nuts. I mean, it's ridiculous. Anyway, I'm going to carry on through. So Ari sent this in. Shot of him in his fatigues, which is fantastic. And I mean, again, it's a watch that he can just wear for the rest of his life and enjoy the snot out of, because it's all you need, really. If you're a watch enthusiast, but you're also someone who just wants something functional to be used everywhere, this is it. This is all you need. And it's fantastic. So thank you for this, Ori. I hope I've done your background a bit of justice. All I can say is this guy, I think he has like 15 medals to his name. It's nuts. 2 tours in Afghanistan is just ridiculous. And Tao, thank you so much for the super chat again. I've ignored the chat, so I'm trying my best. Salisbury, Truth Fear saying, Rivian chest rigs, live on. Yeah, so crazy background. Chest rigs. I'm thinking of Rhodesian Ridgebacks. Don't know why I said that. Chip, it looks like your avatar is a Rhodesian Ridgeback. So that's kind of appropriate, no? Okay, so thank you for this, Ari. Next, we're moving to Pat. Pat sends in another Citizen, another watch that we found is overrated a lot of the time. This is a Blue Angels tribute. I've just noticed. They call it the ProMaster Nighthawk. And this gives me, Navitimer flashbacks. This looks like a Navitimer in many ways. It's amazing. Short shorts and FAL. Yeah, Fabrique Nationals, most ridiculous. And what's crazy is that they weren't technically allowed. I think for the South African forces, a lot of serials were scratched off. But the FN, FALs that went to Rhodesia were all Belgian made, hardcore. They really were hardcore. Okay. So contrast, colors, everything. This watch does it pretty well. We're talking about a Flight Master, something that you can use the slide rule for. Not that anyone would use it for, but definitely gives me Navitimer flashbacks, looking at all the technicalities. Very complicated, but it's nice seeing a Citizen approach this piece a bit differently for a change. Custom muzzle brakes, yeah. And they removed the carry handles. You can talk about rifles, geez. I'm also a gun nut. I've enjoyed them over time. Before getting into design, by the way, I really enjoyed guns because of the technology that goes into them. And I think that's why watches have been such a draw for me, is because it's the same thing. These mechanical machines that are so compact with all the details and how they all work. It's incredible. Okay. Pat, thank you for sending this in. We've just gone over the 3-hour mark and we still have some exceptional pieces to show. So I need to run through these quicker, sadly. So Pekka, P-E-K-K-A, sends in a Tissot caliber 781, 14 karat watch. And I don't think I recorded the age of this piece, but it's quite an old piece. And I just love the simplicity again, just like the earlier Omega that we saw. It's great. No, you don't, Clive. Clive just loves the fact that he doesn't have to leave the page to contribute to another channel. It's great. So Robert saying, I'm a sailor. I have no idea what's going on there. Don't know what we're talking about now. I love it. Surprising, not a single AP or VC today. Maybe some. What? Let me look. You know what? You're right. There's not a single AP or a Vacheron on the show, which is amazing. But we are going to see a Lange, and we are going to see a Patek, and we are going to see Ulysse Nardin. Don't worry, the watches that will be coming up in a second. You really do not want to miss because they are very special. That's all I can say. Oh, geez, happy Father's Day. Isn't that happening tomorrow? Yeah, you're right. Jamie, thank you for the super chat again. It is Father's Day tomorrow. I baked a cake for my dad, so I hope he enjoys that. You have to do something when you're locked in. So yeah, this Tissot is great. It's nice and simple. And we look at the back. He also sent in the back of the watch. I love the fact that it's all solid gold, 14 karat, and nice and clean, crisp, clear. Definitely a watch that feels like something of the 60s, if you know what I mean. And also something I like is this original Tissot T on the dial. I think that's very unique. The negative space, the cut out there, the logo actually representing the brand very well. Clean, clear, clean, simple, clear, basic, stunning. T. Taylor saying, I will send AP VC next week. Thanks. Please do it. Please, by all means. This has been one of the best shows I've ever had before because I think the variety is always on point. This one especially. And like I said earlier, Raymond sends in now his RS65 that has seen a bit more wear than the first one that we saw earlier. And Pekka, again, thank you for sending in the Tissot. I've got to motor through this a bit more because we are going to go over the 3.5 hour mark at this point. Sorry about that, ladies and gents. I know some of you enjoy it, but many who catch up with the show sometimes don't. They prefer shorter shows, but whatever. And Chip Gage said something about agreed on guns. I collected them before getting into watches. I mean, I really enjoy the history behind them, for sure. I think the development of the gun is something incredible. Flint locks, wheel locks, the technology that went into these things, and how a Scotsman developed the percussion cap, and just how technology evolved, the self-contained cartridge and all those little details. Okay, so the bronze piece with all the finishing on the bezel itself, I think it's quite special. Actually, speaking of which, we spoke about flintlocks once. I did a video on the Breguet Classique. Check out that video. Why is the Breguet Classique, what did I say? I don't know, something about Breguet Classique masterclass. I don't know. Just look up IDguy Breguet Classique, and I speak about English dueling pistols and just the art that went into them. And I feel that directly translates into how Breguet approaches their watch design, with that love of keeping to traditional motifs. It's fantastic. I mean, try and inject a lot of history into watches as much as possible on this page. So yeah, the two-tone, love it or hate it. Bronze, love it or hate it. It definitely allows you to give the watch your own spin on it, make it kind of custom to your own wants, your own needs. Okay, greeting from Istanbul. Great to have you here. For those of you who have joined, we've been running the show for 3 hours, 3 hours, 10 minutes at this point. What have you missed? A great show. There's some amazing watches. I highly recommend you catch up from the beginning if you can. Probably have to leave the show for a little while to fully, after 2 hours, the show has like a break where it takes an hour for it to fully upload and save. But the variety has been top notch. The conversation has been great as always too. Okay, so Raymond, thank you for this. And now I think this is the same Raymond. He sends his Vostok collection. Now I have never in my life seen a Vostok collection before. Have you? I really don't know where to start. So I'm just going to scroll through these because we can't sit talking about a collection now. We've got too much to still look at. And we can just have a brief look at just how they attack their designs. And I was thinking about doing a video about Vostok watches. I don't know how popular it would be, but it's worth, look at the variety here. It's worth addressing how they attack their designs. You know what I mean? The way they approach the pieces in different ways. They're all on NATO straps. They're all exceptionally affordable. And they all incorporate very similar elements, like motifs, like the text, like the use of the scuba diver. Clive saying, take a break, go get a pizza. We'll be right here. Well, pizzas, can you get a pizza at 10, what's it, 12 past 1 in the morning in the UK? Don't know so much. Okay, going to catch up with you a bit more in the chat. Brutalist Design, Vostok, Austin Daniels. Speaking of which, Bud, I think Austin should have a collaboration exercise with Vostok as it is. Don't worry, we're not done yet. We've got more. Here's some more pieces. I think we should have the Vostok Austin somewhere because he seems to love it. You know, wiggly crown. Please do a Vostok video. I love my Amphibia. It's a great watch. Yeah, you see, I wouldn't even know where to start. The history of these watches, I don't know how deep it is. I don't know how much there is to find online, but I would like to study a bit more maybe in future and learn. But I just love it. I mean, we have what, Operation Desert Shield. I mean, Vostok, how did they collaborate with this? What, made in the USSR? I mean, isn't that a little bit counterintuitive? Because they were supplying to the, I don't, what? You know, we've got crests here. We've got the typical, you know, eagles and stars. And it's just hilarious. I think it's great. It's such a nice variety. It's so peculiar and different. Okay, I'm going to carry on through. Thank you for this, Raymond. We've got a few more still to go, and this is going to be longer than 3.5 hours now at this point. Now, what happened with this image? I don't know what happened in the process, but sadly the image got compressed when I saved it. Desert Shield, exactly, Orange Hand. That really doesn't sound PC, right? But this is a Yacht-Master slate dial. It's one of the best in the line, I believe. Again, if it's all pixelated, just squint your eyes. Stunning. I mean, the beautiful blue, which you can't see very well here, but I love the platinum bezel, the beautiful gray, polishing, brushing. The way that the bezel works on these Yacht-Masters, you know, it's casual, but it's also very practical. And I think that's where it has such a nice blend. And, oh, geez, Russell, I was just about to click on one of your pieces. Your watches are staying until last. But this effect, I mean, if I was out for a Rolex right now, a sports, quote unquote, sports Rolex, I'd be picking up one of these because I think they're very, I wouldn't say underappreciated, but they are underrated in the scheme of things. And that makes all the difference nowadays because you can really make a mark, make an impact with the Rolex that you're wearing. It doesn't really look like a Rolex, which is even better. You know what I mean? Yeah, and Clive's saying slow down and pace yourself. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I struggle. I've always wanted to know more about Vostok watches. Megan, I think I will do a write-up about them in the next week or two. Before that, I want to talk about Speedmasters. I have a good idea of a video that's going to be coming out soon. Okay, so red and blue is also a nice combo, Mr. Vintage for sure. Okay, I think you're talking about Vostoks though. Right, going to move on to Ryan. Now, Ryan sends another woman's watch, and this is just so out of left field. I've never seen this before. It's called the Chopard Happy Sport that his mother wears. 18 karat gold. It has these little floating diamonds inside the dial, which I think Chopard really has made their own thing at this point. And it's an old piece. I think it's his mother's watch. She's had it all her life, and he didn't realize it's a quartz piece as well, so it's perfect for a lady's watch. But it's just so peculiar. I've never seen a Chopard look like this. No. They are a lovely size design. My 40mm are definitely on my radar. Yeah, they really are. And another small detail that I think is great about the, especially the Yacht-Master line, is that they have tapering lugs. So you don't have the super case styled watch. You have a watch that's actually a bit more under the radar, even though a lot of it's polished. And, you know, funny thing about Desert Shield, yeah, I'm going to talk about politics there. But anyway, and there's a question to Megan about what does she think about Chopard as a brand. I'd like to know her opinion on the brand, because I'm sure she's dealt with them before. I don't know what to think. I haven't studied the history of them at all, so I really am not the person to ask. But you know, Nick Fox seems to love them, and he has quite a good eye when it comes to talking about watches and all of that, you know, historical related detail. So, you know, I do appreciate what Nick Fox has to say with a lot of the pieces that he talks about and writes about. So Ryan, thank you for sending this in. It's a very peculiar piece, but hey, I mean, we're getting to the end of the show, and it's still just as bonkers and bizarre as always. Steve sends in a Helios C4. Now, this is a cool piece. He's taken, I think he's got 2 photos that he sent in. I really love the dial arrangement here. So Megan's saying that the new Rolex Yacht-Master on an Oyster Flex, on the Horizon apparently, and 42. A new Rolex Yacht-Master, but I mean, that's been around for a little while, hasn't it? 42 mil. Great piece, though. Talking about just collectability, yeah, I think it will be quite collectible, you know. Such a great everyday wearing watch. The bezel insert, I don't know what, it's a ceramic bezel insert with a black rubber strap. It's a great looking piece. If we were running just a general talk over show, we would probably be able to share it with everyone. But since we're on a schedule doing this, yeah. And Ryan, it's a pleasure. It's such a pleasure sharing your mum's watch. C4. So talking about this, I love the orange hand used here. So you have a watch that is not only a diver with the full bezel, very nicely executed bezel as well. I will say it must be sapphire capped. I'm pretty sure because it's rounded. But I just love the plots. I don't need 15-minute marks around it, you know. This is much more vintage inspired, and it looks great. So you get to enjoy the cleanliness, the symmetry of the bezel. You get an orange GMT hand, which is fascinating. You get batons shade on the dial. Maybe that's the one element that I would possibly change if I was looking at this piece in hindsight. The batons are a little bit too, how do we say, symmetrical. Your eye can get lost in the detail, I believe. But overall, what an amazing watch for the package, right? It really does look good. Blue on blue, nice navy blending with the orange. I'm sure this is one of the social media darlings nowadays. So a GMT with a dive bezel, how long can you hold your breath? Yeah, you know, right? Like 3 hours at a time. Pretty cool. Nice. I like the idea. The complication, that idea is a nice approach. So very practical and different for a change. It's kind of a great one watch. Some people are saying that it's superb as an everyday wearing piece in the chat. So I'm going to carry on through. Thank you for these, Steve. Now, next, wouldn't you believe, ladies and gentlemen, we get to our next Seagull watch. This comes from London Stuart, and this is a 1962 Seagull. See, the first one was a 1963. This is a year before, and I kind of like the knockoff Esch-esque Breguet style numerals. It's pretty nice. The blued hands. It's a bit more vibrant than the 63. But again, uses the same complication. You know, it has the same layout almost. Nice track that runs around. kind of reminds me of, oh, what do you call it now in music? Staves? No, what is it called? Someone who's musical in the chat. What do you call those lines that you put all your crotchets and quavers and semi quavers and rests and everything on? You know, I can play music. I can't read music. So someone needs to help me here. Staff. Is that what it's called? Oh God, we'll have quarantine for another 2 weeks. Clive, that's rude. Staves. Am I right? Thank you, Eric. Stave. So I like how the stave, we call it a stave dial almost, how everything's set there. Yeah, it's a cool piece. I think, again, it's like $200 and the movement is solid. It's a real workhorse. I can't believe I guessed stave. That's amazing. I'm pretty sure I mentioned it. I haven't read music in the, I haven't actually looked at a script for music in like 10 years. Chopard is a great automotive-inspired brand, in my opinion. My mother has always liked women's pieces, but resale has always been a problem. Yeah, Megan, I hear that they do drop. There are lots of brands out there that really struggle in that department, and Chopard, sadly, Shane's saying getting one of these, falling in love. I mean, just do it. I mean, it's fun. It's practical. I can tell you, firsthand experience, the seagull movement is amazing. It can really take a hit. You can use it every day. Okay, going to carry on through next to Tetley. Okay, now this watch, I have less idea than a goat about what it is. The brand is called, made in Germany, by the way, Alexander Skorokov. Okay, and the underlying reference is 63. Alexander Skorokov 6033, Uran manufacturer, made in Germany. I have never seen this watch before, and he did say it's never been featured on the show, so therefore it has to be shown. And I just find it so peculiar and interesting. You know, it takes those 40s elements with the beautiful spade hands, and then it has the 40, the 20, the 60 divided on the dial, central date disc. It does kind of look German in the way it's done. Just a basic automatic watch. I've never heard of the brand. Alexander, is it Shokorokov? I don't know. It's Shora. 3.5 hours in, you think I can say that word. Great though. I mean, it's so different. And then he also sent in a great wrist, the back of the watch, so we get to appreciate in more detail. Now, I don't know. This watch looks expensive. Can someone please tell me? Someone please tell me what this watch is and where it sits in the price range. Maybe Russell might know. But this bridge, this counterbalance, what am I saying? This rotor looks hand engraved. So it looks pretty expensive. It looks like it has a seal at the back here. Yeah, I would imagine this is pretty fancy. Stainless steel, but what an interesting combination of elements. I've never seen a dial layout like this before. And yeah, everyone's talking about pendulums and I don't know what you guys are chatting about. Talking about Tim as a talented guy. Says hand engraved. Thank you, Orange Hand. Where does it say that? We're in manufacturer. That's not it. Hand engraved, the back. Hand engraved. Thank you. In Elzenau. Elzenau. I'm not even going to try and butcher those names. Stunning though. I love that. That is one of the most beautiful rotors we've seen on the show. Don't you agree? Looks absolutely gorgeous. And my voice is on the verge of disappearing. So we're going to swap over from this. Thank you for this, Tetley. It doesn't seem like anyone, yeah, Russell doesn't know. No one has heard of this watch before. So maybe in future, if you have a few more of these, send them in and we can keep chatting. But now we're jumping to a real Legends watch on this channel. The real like communal legend on this platform. We're getting to Thomas Burnett next. And I said to Thomas that he needs to send in his PAM. This is a 352 Panerai. It's a Luminor, yeah. And the story goes that these scratches that you're seeing on the bracelet, on the bezel, he made these when he was trimming a hedge in his garden the other day. Thomas Burnett. Yes, we knew we had to feature him. I said you have to be a part of the show. Ooh, loom sharp. You can look at that just now. Now, this is a monster. I think this watch is like 45 millimeters. But this is his real beta watch. It's in titanium, so it's nice and light. And Megan's saying, yes, I know the brand. He makes some interesting watches. Thank you, Megan. I'd love to know more about that brand. I never heard of it before. This PAM, I think everything, I have reviewed Thomas Burnett's collection before, by the way. You can look it up on Google. Just say Thomas Burnett's review, Thomas Burnett's review watch collection. And this is definitely one of the pieces that he just wears as a beater for sure every day. And I find it so funny. So he was trimming his hedge in the garden and managed to get the hedge trimmer to slice up, you know, all over the bezel. You can see the polished bezel's taken a knock. The bracelet has been scuffed up, but he has asked what to do with it to a lot of us, and we've just said 47 millimeters. Really, I think it's quite a beast, and it deserves to see wear and tear and scratches and everything like that. And then the loom shot, I think, is something special. This is what made Panerai so famous back in the day. I mean, think about the 1930s when you're underwater for the first time in self-contained underwater breathing apparatus, and you're reading the time like this. Even before that, when you're dealing with diving, proper diving helmets and the whole unit, full dive suit. Yeah, Rob, I knew I was going to get that comment. Yeah, I should have thought a bit better around that. Thomas says 44 mils. Okay. I just love this loom shot. It's also a sandwich dial, if I'm not wrong. So you get to really appreciate, yeah, it is. You get to appreciate the loom at a different level. I love it. The colors, the legibility, stunning. Would be nice to have seen, because it has a date complication, you don't have the 3 over here, but still, it's just great. Thomas, you need to send in more shots over the weekends for the shows. Your Milgauss desperately needs to be shown on this. Speaking of which, I would love to get hands-on time with a Z-Blue Milgauss. Love to talk about it more, because I think it's one of the most charming, interesting pieces out there. Watch saved the arm. That's it, Russell. I mean, well said. Okay, I'm going to carry on through because there's so many still to go. Jeez, we've just hit 3.5 hours. This is going to be a 4-hour show, ladies and gents. I feel like it. Time for a banana split, truth is. Okay, next from Tillman. Now, Tillman, we know as a man who has a 1995 Lange 1, one of the originals. And one of his favorite office-wearing watches. Clive saying, no problem. Clive, you're the best. You're the best enabler on the planet, Clive. Love you for that. Globemaster, I think, is one of the greatest modern classic tributes to the Omega constellation line that they've done. And this piece is his, daily wearer. He loves wearing it at the office when the Lange gets too much. He's just about to pick up a Explorer II, if I remember right. And it's just stunning. I think he might be in the chat too. But yeah, Globemaster, if it was me, I would love a white dial Globemaster like this with a bracelet. That's just stunning. Blue dial is also terrific. And again, as someone who owns a Lange 1 from 95, you can wear anything you want. You've got like the real cornerstone watch for the Lange family. Very special. And you get to see, yeah, like Jimmy says, you get to appreciate the Paipan dial on this piece the most in this kind of lighting. But it's such a subtle Paipan too, which is even more effective. I did hone my enabling skills in the other channel. Yeah, Clive, you sure did. And it's definitely rubs off. It's great. Load master, that's funny. Okay, so let's see what else is going on. Yeah, Russell saying Lange 1. I have shared it a few times, Russell. He has an original yellow gold Lange 1 from 95. And on the back, it's a solid back. So you get to appreciate all of that. And there are a few little things about it that makes it different. Olive Aqua Terra, Michael. Oh, I would also jump on that too. There's so many stunning pieces out there, I tell you. Okay, next. Thank you for this, Tillman. Love to see your Lange 1 again. Share away. Okay, so Tom, this is a carryover from Tom last week. We were speaking about this actually. And we, what was the discussion? We were talking about, it was actually at the very end of the show. Tao, next time I'll send in Lange 1. Thank you. Thank you so much, Tillman. In this video, last week's video saying, no APs, no bud, nothing. Can you believe? We've had some amazing ones in the past, nothing this time around. In this last week video that we did, choosing your next watch and what to look out for, at the very end of the show, I talked about the comparison between the Seamaster white dial and my 57 Seamaster that I picked up. And since it's talking about choosing your next watch, I kind of broke into a practical example of how I came to a conclusion between these two, because the Seamaster Professional white and black, this is him trying it on in the boutique, I was so close to jumping on, but there was all sorts of little elements that pulled me away, you know what I mean? And he's just shared a few shots of his Explorer next to his Grand Seiko. I think this might have been at a boutique. Oh, this might be his watch. So we have a 36 mil which is just a classic. And then we have another 9F GMT. This is the second one we featured on the show today, can you believe? And you can see the size differences here. They're both technically Explorers, which I think is stunning. And the Bud's saying, sending you my APs this week. Yeah, great, do it. I mean, we love having APs on the show. My favorite is that beautiful blue dial chronograph with the silver subdials and the stainless steel case. I think it's one of the most gorgeous. I would love to get my hands on the new 38mm APs out there, the AP chronographs that came out recently. I think they're very sought after. You know, if I was in the market to pick up an AP, I'd be looking at the 38mm variant or 39, something like that. It's a really nice looking chronograph, nice and toned down in size. Okay. Bud, thank you so much for the super chat again. And Tom, you're in the chat. That's fantastic. Let's see. SMP is facing tough competition from the 58 and the CQ. What CQ are we talking about? If we're talking the reissue, get the GO CQ reissue. You will not regret it, Tom. I can honestly tell you, it is such a nice piece. Go different. If it's the original, if it's the reissue CQ Specimatic, do it. You will love it. So yeah, and then he's just comparing the two. Look at the size differences between these two models. I just find it pretty astounding, actually. White dial, black bezel, next to a 36mm. We get to enjoy the 42 next to 36 and see how different they are. What's beautiful, we can actually talk about this now in a second. Good to have you here, Hatsi. Welcome to the show. I have that one, Bud. Yeah, please send it in. I love that variant. I need a full IDguy collection review. Yeah, I definitely don't have watches worthy of showing off. The best I have is my Omega. I hope to one day grow the collection, but at this point in time, you know, I'm trying my best to just scrape through life as it is. 39mm reissue, Tom Austin saying, yeah, go for it. I mean, really go for it. Okay, so Megan's saying Jacinta is sending in a rose gold watches next week. Oh, please, that'd be awesome. Please. I love the rose gold Aquanaut. I've actually seen Jacinta's collection before, and that rose Aquanaut is beautiful. So looking at these two watches, what I really appreciate about the 36mm, this is a great thing. The way it tapers to the 20mm width bracelet, there is something so romantic about it. And what I mean is the watch is an appropriate enough size that it manages to celebrate the bracelet in more detail. You get to really see a good blend between bracelet and the case itself. What these 42mm variants are doing nowadays with these 22mm wide straps is it's very oversized. I think the proportions are pretty well shared here, but with a lot of pieces, we see 42mm watches with 20mm bracelets, and they don't seem to share the same kind of relationship that 36 and 20 shares, if you know what I mean. Another pedantic design detail that I think is lost, that isn't spoken about often. 36 and 20mm bracelets, such a nice golden ratio for enjoying the watch itself, but also how the bracelet integrates with it. You know what I mean? Going to carry on the 73 Math says 36 for the win. Not exactly slumming it with your Omega. Yeah, watch and pray. I know it was a big purchase, and it definitely was. I mean, at that time, it was kind of a kick. It really was a kick to the groin, and I needed something different. I needed something that made kind of a statement, kind of represented what the channel was about. But yeah, as it is, I'm loving every second of it. And to watch, I will never, ever, ever sell. I think it just has so much of a story behind it too, which I think is amazing. So I'm going to carry on through. So this is another shot from Tom on the rubber strap. I think the rubber is a bit more appropriate for this because it blends nicely with the black bezel and the white dial and everything else. Megan's saying we should have a vintage wrist shot week. Ooh, from Craft and Taylor would be very cool. Yeah, sadly, I've been trying to. Actually, no, it's actually my side. I haven't been communicative with Cam. He tends to send me a lot of messages, and I haven't been very on point. I've been struggling with coming up to, dealing with time and everything in between. But I would love to collaborate and have like a proper live show with him in the future. Never ever, Sam. Never. Yeah, I mean, never is a strong word. Okay, going to carry on through. Thank you for these, Tom. This next watch comes in from Tudor. His name is Tudor, which is pretty amazing. And he sends in a Longines Master Collection Blue. What's it called? Blue, yeah. Longines Master Collection Blue. Definitely an aviator's watch, and the way it presents itself looks stunning. Geez, as it is, I cannot believe this is now 3.5 hours, ladies and gents, and we're still going. So Thomason saying, I prefer the size of a GO and Black Bay 55, but to have a white dial would be nice. Yeah, I agree. If you want something that is a bit more versatile, you might want to go for something with a black dial. I think it's a bit more appropriate for more occasions, but white dial is just as good. As we will just see in a second, Clive saying you can do it. Do you think we could hit a 4-hour point? A 4-hour stream is bloody nuts. What do you people do to me? Okay. Mike, thank you for the super chat. Really nice leaf hands, as Thomas says. It's all of you who have joined in from all over the world. I cannot thank you enough. There's still 160 of you watching. Clive saying, yes, we can. It's beautiful. So yeah, Longines, plain and simple. Leaf hands are gorgeous. Nice batons. Definitely has that utility aspect behind it, but it's also a very dress-oriented piece, which is great. Okay, I've got to carry on. We've got still a few watches to carry through. Tudor, thank you for sending this in. Next from Vidar. His name is Vidar. He sends in his newly acquired, new this week, Oyster Perpetual 39, which is one of the best in the family. And if I had the money right now, I'd be picking up this watch myself. Don't tell anyone that. But it is stunning. I love the dial. What the story was that someone bailed on it last second, and he picked it up from the dealer, not the dealer, the AD, the actual authorized dealer, and he's loving it. I mean, 39 mils, white dial. It's so practical. This could be a watch you should consider, Tom, if you're still in the chat. And all the little details, like the black on white, how the light hits the white on the dial, the domed bezel. I cannot emphasize this enough. The domed bezel is phenomenal. How it plays with the light and brings in the light, centers it. We watch guy, 160 watching, should be 160 thumbs up. No, you guys really don't have to. I mean, I don't look at that detail, but I mean, it's great. It shows that there's appreciation, I guess. But I mean, really, you guys who've been a part of the show, what I'm going to do, I found something really cool about this. You can actually look up the number of participants during in the comments section, and it's pretty great. We have quite a nice number of people. Okay, so yeah, everything about this watch just screams Rolex to me, and I would love to do a video specifically on the OP39s, Oyster Perpetuals in general, and just talk about how they represent the brand so well, because I really think they do. There's few watches out there that manage to do it so well, especially in the Rolex family. White dial OP, can say that's it. That's the way it is. Next from Watch and Pray. He's in the chat somewhere. There he is. He sent in, and if I remember right, this is a new acquisition. The pen. This is a Rolex pen that's actually made in Switzerland. And he said it's quite a quirk. Green pen, green watch. Nice combination though, right? And this watch is actually manufactured and made in-house, along with their gold and their steel that they do. It's pretty amazing that this watch is also made by Rolex in their home factory. And the Hulk Submariner, I mean, this shot is superb. You get to really appreciate the emerald effect. You know what I mean? Lovely colors, dark offset, great use of shadow there. And just in general, we've seen this watch so many times on the show already, but it never gets old. I think it's nice and unique. But he had to buy, Clive's saying, but he had to buy 8 Mont Blancs to get it. You might have. I mean, tell us the story, Watch and Pray, if you're in the chat. You'd like to tell us. It's hilarious. There's my Grail watch. Not full of hype either. Neferon says, I mean, it is something pretty special. It's a commemorative piece. The question is, what will they do for their 70th anniversary? The Hulk pen, I think it's great. Okay, as it is 3 hours, 40 minutes, I've got to carry on through these. Okay, after this, we're jumping to Russell's pieces because they are just phenomenal. First off, we have X-Wing Alpha. This was one of the last submissions for the show. Don't know why he called himself X-Wing Alpha, but he sends in a Glycine Combat Sub, which is all steel, beautiful faded bezel, and again, uses the same idea of the American-styled 24-hour track on the dial. Very field watch inspired. And the Glycine we've spoken about a lot. Check out the Watches of Vietnam video if you'd like to see more of that. We speak about Glycine and how they approach their designs. Combat Sub, the Airman, they're all very, very unique. And yeah, as it is, there's just chats about, let's see, change your name, start with Z, submittal. Yeah, that's the thing, Neo. If your name starts with an A, you'll be first. If your name starts with Z, sadly, you'll be last. That's just how the alphabetical order thing works. Great. So it's a nice looking piece, really enjoy it. And we are now going to transition over. Thank you for this X-Wing Alpha. We're now going to look at Russell's pieces that he sent in. Right, where to start? I want to save the Ulysse Nardin until the end. First watches we're going to be looking at is, what did I label it as? Let's see, Hero. I called it Hero. Right. So Russell basically sent in the email saying to me, it's very seldom that you get to see the watches against each other, you know, as a set competing against. If you're still here, I've saved the best for last. So stick around for the next 10 minutes or so because we're going to enjoy this a lot. Right. So three really amazing ones. Zane's in the chat. Great to have you, Zane. Three really amazing pieces. From left to right, we have a Lange Datograph Lumen. On the right, in the middle, we have a Patek 5370P. And on the far right, we have a Panerai Daytona. And the idea with this comparison is to just enjoy the beauty. So we're going to start with, let's see, Datograph Lumen. Let's do that first. Now, Russell has a YouTube channel. So as you are here in the chat right now, look up Russell, I'm going to get this right, Russell 996 in the search engine, wherever. Just copy that, paste it into the search bar, and look up Russell's collection, because he takes short video clips and photographs of the watches that he has, and he has an amazing collection. You're going to enjoy it. Datograph Lumen, flyback. Oh God, this is the, you know, creme de la creme. I've handled the platinum Datograph, but never the Lumen, and it's one of the most amazingly practical. Not much of a channel, no, but it is though. I mean, you don't need much. Just do what I ask everyone. Look up Russell's channel and check out the pieces that he shows off. He just takes wrist rolls basically, and you get to appreciate them a lot better than still images. So the Lumen, as far as practical chronographs go, this one takes the cake, because everything from the tachymeter, I don't think he sent in a loom shot this time around, but it has just the whole tachymeter is loomed, the subdials are loomed, the hour and the minute hand, the chronograph hand, the date itself. It has a phantom date back there, so you get to enjoy it. He's sent in some amazing watches in the past, but I mean, this is definitely one of the greatest in his collection. It is absolutely beautiful. And then just casually, we're going to flip over to the 5370, which is, yeah, not bad. Probably the best chronograph that Patek makes, unless you consider the annual calendars and everything else in between. But the 5370P, absolutely gorgeous. And they very much are on par, I would say, because you're dealing with a watch that has loomed hands, again, very much like the Datograph. And this is a double split. Is it a flyback? We'd like to know if it is a flyback or not. It has a ground faux enamel dial, as Mason says, yes. It's a P made in platinum, so it has a beautiful diamond set on the underside. Email, meaning enamel, Breguet numerals. I'm always drawn back to these watches because of just how well executed the colors are. You see just how well the contrast works with the whites, the different handsets. It's so well presented as well. And just the simple things like the gorgeous hobnail inside the case, the channeling that runs through the lugs. Beautiful, beautiful machines. So, I mean, this is why I love sharing these watches on the show, because you just get to see sheer variety. But don't worry, we're not done yet, because we also have, let me get back up to here, I did have another watch. So the 5370 movement, I'm sure most of us would like to enjoy seeing. And Russell, again, I'm not getting to the chat because as it is, everyone's chatting away. Going to the movement itself, I'd imagine this is a Patek Philippe seal. Yes. And the story goes is that Patek Philippe introduced their seal, I think, in like the early 2000s. This was one of the only models to have the seal with the chronograph next to another very early variant. Oh, it's beautiful. Just look at the details. Absolutely stunning. It's a full-on network. I mean, you can just sit back and enjoy this. You don't have to comment. You can just enjoy it. 30 full joules adjusted to heat cold. Isochrono. 4 hours into the show, I'm not even going to try. 6 positions arranged. But don't worry, we're not done yet, because we also have a movement shot of the Datograph, which you can enjoy together. And seeing these watches side by side, you can just appreciate what's amazing. I mean, we started the show looking at a Lange Saxonia Thin and a Patek 5227. Now we are seeing the two top-of-the-line, top-tier models in the same family. And again, we get to appreciate just how the Germans approach their work and how the Swiss approach their work. Z Germans, as many would say. Look at that engraving. This is why you buy this watch, and it's no joke. I mean, I've handled one of these before, and it wasn't a flyback. It was just, no, it was a flyback. No, was it? Can't remember. But you tilt this thing at a 3/4 angle, and you look at the depth to this detail. Your mind is blown. It's a miniature city. You know what I mean? So let me catch up with the chat, because I see some funny things going on. Zane saying Terry Stern kisses each grand comp movement before casing it. The Tethalon is going. Took a break for a while. The Telethon. Oh, James Con, yeah, we've been rolling still. We're still doing pretty well. And there's just lots of comments about the watch. It's just gorgeous. I mean, these really are just top tier. If we all had all the money in the world, I'm sure most of us would jump on these. And what I really appreciate, the super collectors out there, they appreciate not only the sports pieces, but they appreciate the dress pieces. And for me, I think Russell has quite an immense taste in watches. I mean, we could say yes. Oops. We could say yes, that this is quite the hype watch nowadays. But I mean, only the real enthusiasts go towards pieces like a 5370, the Datograph Lumen. I mean, absolutely sublime. But we're not done yet. We've still got more. Datograph up close, we get to see that beautiful arrangement of the bridges, the balance. Whoops, how did I do that? That was a 3-finger swipe, ladies and gentlemen. The quality of the photography is just incredible. It's just pure artwork. And is that all? No, there's more. There's more photos to go. Amin reviews, absolute pleasure. If you haven't seen the beginning of the show, Amin sent in a gorgeous Moser that I just cannot get enough of. Moser Endeavor, absolutely beautiful. Okay, so I'm going to carry on through with this. And what else do we have? I know there's some more here. We've got a Movement 2 shot. This is also from the Patek. Oh, fantastic. So now we can see, this is gnarly. Okay, so we get to see the Datograph movement next to, I mean, wherever do you see this? Datograph movement next to the Patek movement. Let me try and get them the right scale so you can see them together. So which is which? It's kind of like a shuffle. You know what I mean? Thank you. So, that 50, I thought that was 5. I mean, thank you. Good Lord. I thought that was $5. Jeez, dude, thank you. This is blowing me away. You guys, I tell you what an amazing show. Really, I can't thank you all enough. Okay, look at these two movements, German, Swiss. And they just do something so differently. I mean, what I kind of love is the German approach is much more streamlined. You can kind of see just how there seems to be a lot less going on with all of the bridges. There seems, I kind of see that the clutches and everything in between are much heavier duty, but they don't look as fragile, if you know what I mean. We jump to the movement of the Patek, on the other hand, we see these tiny, tiny little leaf springs that sort of run around the sides, and it feels a lot more fragile visually. Can't be. I mean, these watches are really hardcore, but beautiful. I mean, I don't even know what half of these gears do, but seeing this watch in action, I'm pretty sure Russell has saved all of these as video shots so we can see how the movement works. But the 5370 is just one of the greats, ladies and gents. It is beautiful, along with everything else. And there is one last watch that he did send in. And Neo, thank you so much again. Thank you for the super chat. Russell saying that the Patek is finer. Yeah, I agree, for sure. Much more finer detail. It's pretty amazing. What I also think, you can correct me about this, it looks like shoestrings. You can correct me about this, but I think that the Patek is more linear with the way they arrange their bridges and their gears, where the Lange seems to be a lot more focused on depth. You notice how these bridges are so elevated and a lot thicker in places. Only I think Zane and Russell could tell us otherwise, but it looks like the Patek's a lot straighter in the way it's been arranged with all of its areas. Watchmaking is just phenomenal. It's so great seeing German and Swiss side by side. Yeah, all of you. Nia saying, forget the t-shirts. You want to take the super chats to get a watch for yourself. Hell's bells. If that was the case, I would love to do that. You know, that would be amazing. I don't know what I would get. Probably be a Rolex. I'd love to get a Rolex next, actually. You guys really are just absolute. The watches that come in, I cannot thank you enough, as I say. But no, we haven't finished yet. Hold on a sec. I'm getting ahead of myself. The last watch from Russell perfectly sums up the show and the day, being the 20th, now the 21st of June, if it's Sunday in the UK, I don't know. We're looking at the Ulysse Nardin tellurium. That's the one. That's the one here. So this watch was introduced in the 90s, and it's a very rare piece. It's one that has seemed to have lost its footing, or it's not as like sought after nowadays, which is hilarious because it is a really high complication watch. It celebrated a huge anniversary. Maybe Russell can explain more. Art Mallory saying, were you joking about being 26? No, Art Mallory, I am 26. I'm 27 in November. I kid you not. Kind of surprises me at times too. And Russell saying 92. So this is from 1992. And okay, so what do we say about this piece? I didn't understand it. Honestly, Russell gave me a basic description, but the sun, I did read up about this, trying to learn. The sun is set at the 12 o'clock. And what basically happens, of course, this is an enamel dial. It's absolutely beautiful. It's one of the most complicated pieces ever. This represents the moon, which sits right here. I'm guessing this blue disc. It lines up with the equator, and this ring that runs around the top basically highlights the amount of daylight you get. This whole Tellurium, this Earth, rotates every day fully 360 degrees, and it's just unbelievable. It's centered around the poles, as you would expect. I'm trying to see where the UK is situated, just for my benefit. I'm guessing it's probably here, but basically, as it is the summer solstice, we're seeing this setting as it is right now. We're seeing the most amount of sun today, and matte projection. It's gorgeous. I mean, enamel dial. I can't understand what else is going on here. We have annual calendars, and to tell the time, this is what I've been able to make out, at least, I hope. It's 2:05. So there you have, this looks like tritium, might be wrong there, but 2 being your hour and that being your 5. You can tell the time pretty easily. But Russell, let me try and read what Russell has explained in the chat. The watch itself is large. It's like 48 mils or 44 mils, but looks so, I've actually seen a few shots of people wearing them. Looks great on the wrist. I mean, the presence, because the lugs are arranged the way they are, I just think it's a perfect thing to cap off the show because it lines up exactly with what we're dealing with as a summer solstice. So let me read what Russell says about this watch, and I can try and explain a bit more detail. So Russell's saying the sun on the bezel at 12. Close-on Earth is from above, North Pole, rotates anti-clockwise every 24 hours, showing GMT. Wire across the dial shows area lit by the sun. Above and below is night. That is amazing. So the arc of this bend here with this wire, everything above is submerged in light. Everything below is in the dark. It's just unbelievable. What a crazy complication. Neo, thank you. I mean, that's very flattering. I try my best. I can't say I am the best. I'm definitely not. I just love sharing whatever I can, whenever I can, and I hope you're enjoying it. So James can send the definition of wearing something interesting on your wrist. Yeah, and it's pretty impressive. I mean, these watches, the joke is they are not only collectible, but they are relatively affordable because people just aren't interested in them. But I think, honestly, for what it does, what it represents, time telling, it has a full calendar arrangement. It has a rotating Earth, an enamel dial. I'm pretty sure it's an enamel dial. It's a platinum case and everything else. It tells you where the sun is positioned. And this being the moon, I don't know what the green arrow represents, but I know that this represents the moon, if I'm not wrong. It's absolutely incredible. And I've never seen this complication before. I don't know if we ever will again, but it makes it. So that has been us for the show. And for all 165 of you still watching, it's been incredible. So is that what cloisonne means? I don't know what that means, Russell. Does that mean that the gold surrounding the... it has to do with something about how the dial is arranged with the gold surrounding the continents, no? Green arrow shows the eclipse. It's just incredible. I mean, who makes watches like these? You can do all of that in one sitting. But as it is, I mean, Russell has really stolen the show with these pieces. I think they're something we can really marvel at and bask in, as always. But this has been a monster show. We're actually 5 minutes to 4 hours, which is the longest show by far. But I think it's been worthwhile. I really enjoy the fact that we've just shared so much, and the watches really have been exceptional. I think there's no better way to explain the pieces that have been shown tonight or today, wherever you are in the world. And Watch and Pray saying, on behalf of the watch community, appreciate what you do. Oh, thanks, man. Really, thank you. Catch the first 3 hours. Unbelievable. really. The coffee has helped me so much. Fisherman's Friend, as always, my primary sponsor. Don't know what I would do without them. But what an amazing set of watches, just in general, everything that's been shown. And what I'll do is pull up the first watch that's actually the cover photo piece for the show. One of my favorites, this high beat Grand Seiko with the beautiful text on the dial. And yeah, that's been us, everyone. I think I'm going to call it Lange for me, T. Taylor says. Yeah, the Datograph Lumen. He also has a Zeitwerk Phantom, I think they call it, which is the glow-in-the-dark Zeitwerk, which is amazing as well. Yeah, so as always, you have been incredible. Your submissions, the whole idea of this Russian roulette, nobody knows what's going to be shown. Even me. I mean, I save them. Don't really check them afterwards. Neo, Junior Johnson, my God. You all, I mean, this literally could pay for another watch. Kid you not. But this is going into, I promise you, this is going into what's coming up next in future. I'm doing lots of technical work, a bit of design work in the background that I think you'll all enjoy. I'm going to do some more work on it tomorrow. Thomas Burnett, thanks to everyone for sending in your wrist shots, contributing to another great stream. Yeah, IDGuy Patreon. You know what? If you want to be, for sure. I mean, I'll leave a link in the description of this video later or in the comments if you like. At the end of every video, you'll see a tab. I only have like 12 people who've been a part of it, but really it helps with things like shopping, which is a pleasure. When I can buy a week's worth of groceries, it just means it takes a bit of pressure off, and that's all it really is at the end of the day. And I cannot, again, thank you enough for being a part of the show and sending all of these pieces in. Truth Via's watched for 3 hours. You're all incredible, really. And I'm going to close this off and just get to the final section of the show. Let me just exit this, stop sharing the screen, and just chat to you as the show comes to an end. I cannot believe we're running for 4 hours. Well, Jimmy's saying he watched for the entire show. I've been running the whole show, and I can't believe it. I'm going to have a hangover tomorrow. You don't realize this, but after these shows, I have a hangover for at least a day, and the second day is normally rest up. So that's how it is. But all of you, really, I hope you've had a superb weekend. It's been amazing weather in the UK. I think come next week, I think the weather is going to be incredible. Like it's 30 degrees. So enjoy the sun as much as possible. I hope you're all looking after yourselves and working from home well, efficiently, I should say. And expect a review for the Smith's Air Ministry to come out next week. I really enjoyed it. It's got some video in it. It's got some great photos. Try to put you into the perspective of 40s era pilot watches, which was a lot of fun to do. And it really has changed my perspective when it comes to wearing just the most basic pieces out there. It makes you think about that time period the most. Yeah. And as always, all of you who have sent in money this morning, wherever you are in the world, I cannot thank you. I really cannot. I'm so humbled. Honestly, I don't know what to say. I really don't know what to say. And Megan saying thank you. Yeah. To all of you who have been a part of the show, who've sent in your watches. There's still 150 of you watching, and really, you make these shows possible. Wrist Shot Week has definitely become its own brand at this point, and I have to thank Zane for the suggestion of sharing a wrist shot from someone. And it turned into a show by itself. So the next 2 weeks, we'll definitely do another one. The week after this, Watches of Knightsbridge have a catalog coming out, and I'm definitely going to jump on that. And we can just chat about watch auctions, which is a nice change of pace. That'll be next weekend, and Wrist Shot Week to follow. And so it goes. Yeah, you guys are great. Clive's saying coast is clear. Yeah, you're a horrible person, Clive. Thomas, again, thank you so much. You guys need to stop now. It's just ridiculous. And Russell, thank you. For some reason, that's the max. I've reached my max. You have been incredible. All of you. Thank you. Knightsbridge. James Conn knows. He's been here for a long time. All of you, thank you again. Have a superb weekend. And I'll catch you next week, Wednesday. The next video will be out. And yeah, so we go from there. You guys have been incredible. What an amazing show. And see you in the next one, as always. Enjoy your Sunday, and cheers for now.